Happy Tuesday and happy June, folks, and welcome back to hashtag AskGSM. Here today, episode 601. My birthday yesterday, turning the 3-0, was on 602, and today's 6-3, June 3rd. So not often something like that happens, but pretty fucking cool. Thank you so much for joining us here today as we kick off the month of June on a high note. Actually, what we really did, we did our first live stream of June 2 days ago. We actually kicked off June 2 days ago with an emergency stream talking the R-Truth departure. At which point we actually did the largest audience that we've ever had for a live stream, talking R-Truth, and actually a much bigger discussion about his departure, how it affects WWE long term, and honestly, not really just the R-Truth departure, but a sign of a bigger issue within WWE when it comes to black representation specifically. And it's not like R-Truth leaving WWE is a major blow to the company in that way, but we did the math on the stream the other day talking about the black wrestlers that WWE has, male specifically. Female, they have, Bianca, Naomi, B-Fab, Jade Cargill, among others. A lot of great talent, both male and female. But on the male side, it really struck me looking at the WWE roster. If we're not including Omos, which you include Omos, of course, because he is on the active roster, but he hasn't been on the show in over a year. So honestly, to a certain degree, it's kind of hard to count him. But if you even count Omos, there's really just the New Day, the Prophets, Carmelo, and Apollo Crews. I think that might be it. And I could be wrong, but if you look at the current active I think NXT has more black wrestlers on their roster than Raw and SmackDown combined. That is honestly unreal and an issue. So again, we talk about it in great depth on the live stream from Sunday. I was supposed to, and I did, end up going to a party to celebrate my birthday the day before, a party that Alexis graciously threw for me. Had an amazing time. Thanks to everyone that was able to attend that and, wish me well yesterday and everything. It really meant the world, always means the world, and I really much appreciate it. So thank you so much for that. But what I was going to say was I had to leave the stream to go to that. And I had about 2 hours before I knew I had to leave on Sunday. And I was like, great, I can enjoy my Sunday. All my work was done for the weekend and even for Monday because my birthday was yesterday. So I'm thinking I'll try to pre-write as much stuff as possible so I can kind of free up my schedule. And recording-wise, too, like even the video that went up yesterday, I put that up I recorded that days ago, probably Thursday or Friday. So I pre-did all my work so I can kind of free up Sunday and Monday. And then fucking WWE had to go ahead and fire R-Truth on Sunday, literally out of nowhere. So what we did, it was still a negative situation, but we turned a negative into a positive, went live here on the channel, and had a very productive chat, I thought, a very constructive chat about R-Truth, what he means to WWE, meant to WWE, what his departure means for WWE, which we'll get into more here today, actually, because you see it as the headline question for the video. Shout out to Christopher for sending in the great question, among other ones, for today's video. We're not getting into it first, but we will get into it in a little bit. Has TKO done more to harm or help WWE? So we talked about that on the stream, and again, the bigger, issue of black representation within the company, and a lot more. So it was really, really cool. Check that out if you haven't already. We went almost 2 hours. Legitimately, it was only supposed to be like 30 minutes. It was only supposed to be like 30 minutes, and anyway, that was great doing that. It did fuck up my complete plans for Sunday and Monday, mind you. Completely threw me off, and now I'm still behind. But I did catch up on Raw last night. Enjoyed it for what it was, if only for the CM Punk AJ Styles first ever one-on-one. I mean, it was the triple threat, but their first ever real interaction within a WWE ring. I know they had a match 21 years ago in Ring of Honor, but that was over 2 decades ago. I'm talking in WWE specifically as well. That was the first time. And honestly, that alone was a great birthday gift, with those two being my top favorites of all time. So anyway, thank you again for the well wishes. I appreciate it. As I mentioned in the post that I put up here on the channel a few days ago, Alexis and I are actually leaving, I say in an impromptu, but we booked the trip a few weeks ago, and we've been planning it basically since January. We came up with the idea to do it in January. So it's not really impromptu. But we're leaving for a brief vacation for Disney World, actually, to go on the Muppets ride for the final time on Saturday. And so we're leaving Thursday night, going to be gone all Friday, probably at Disney Springs. Saturday, Hollywood Studios, fly home Sunday. So I am missing Money in the Bank Live. I legitimately might try to watch it while I'm in fucking line or something. I don't really know yet, but I'm going to try to watch it on Saturday. If not on the plane ride home on Sunday or at the airport. I still don't really know what I'm doing yet. But my point is, because we're gone from Thursday through Sunday, and we're actually leaving later on in the day on Thursday, I could still do the show. So Mr. Marceau, I'm going to check with him what time works for him on Thursday. But I think we're still going to do the show on Thursday at the usual time, either first thing Thursday morning, East Coast time, or around noon. Probably before that, because our plane is like a little bit later on. It won't affect the show. We're still doing WrestleRant Radio, talking to departures, among other people, because it wasn't just R-Truth's contract that wasn't renewed this past week. We're going to be talking that, Money to Make predictions, and a whole lot more on the show on Thursday. So stay tuned for that, a bit of a cheap plug. I will get to the live chat in a moment. Thank you to everyone that is joining us live here today, that has already sent in a chat, drop comments or questions in the chat. Like the video already. If you haven't already, please do so. I would appreciate it. Thank you to all joining live. I will bring up the chat in just a moment. A few more things I do want to mention before we get going here. And thankfully, I checked. Unlike last week for our big 600th episode, I have not been on mute this entire time. If I have been, I'm fucked. But the last week's episode, which I apologize for, by the way, I muted myself, accidentally for the first 10 minutes. That was a faux pas on my part. And I had like this whole nice, meaningful, heartfelt message, saying thank you for 600 episodes. And then it was fucking muted. And I had to repeat myself, which was fine, but it's just the principle of it that pissed me off. But anyway, as we get going here, two quick things. Before I get to your questions in the chat, we'll go to the chat first and then go to the scheduled questions. Shout out to our channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1. Find him on the IG at Swerve1, W-O-N. He was actually at Double or Nothing a couple of weeks ago. Said he had a blast. Daniel Malcolm, letter I, letter M, quarter on X. Shout out to Daniel. RJ Marceau, speak of the devil, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine on X. John Retland, check out his channel, all the content that he does. Great dude. He is here on YouTube at Real Honesty with John Retland. Also, check out Richie's channel here on YouTube as well, Red Planet Wrestling. He does great work, 2K gameplay, a lot of great content he does. And last but not least, Average Grunt. Big thanks to Average Grunt as well, at the Average Grunt on the Twitter machine. If you are interested in becoming a WrestleRant All Access Pass producer and unlocking that part of the channel memberships, it's only $5 a month. You get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every live stream that we do. I didn't do it for the Sunday stream. I actually forgot, so I apologize. But definitely for every WrestleRant radio that we do, every single hashtag AskGSM that we do, you get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do, and I can plug whatever you want. So just a heads up on that, but you also get, badges and emojis in the live chat, early and ad-free access to certain videos. So we had WrestleRant radio excerpts go up over the weekend and my Dark Side of the Ring review, all of which went up to channel members first, ad-free as well, before they went up available for everyone else a little bit later on in the day. And there's going to be more content like that I'm able to do that for. Sometimes my schedule doesn't allow for it. Sometimes I can do it. And you can unlock access to that by becoming a WrestleRant channel member today. And if you become a channel member during the streams, actually everyone's notified. It's pretty cool. So not to put pressure on you, but just a heads up on that front. And again, I appreciate everyone that is a channel member. If you're interested, like I said, more information in the description box down below. And that's really about it. But at the very least, if you want to just like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, which I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, what are you waiting for? Do so now. Hit the bell button as well to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time I upload new content, which is pretty much every single day here on the channel. So nonetheless, I think we are good to get going. Oh, one last thing. If you want to send in a question to the show you want me to answer here on hashtag AskGSM, you can send in your question in advance, obviously in the chat as we're going live. So if you're here live and you have a question you want me to answer, I'll get to it if you're in the chat. Do that. But if you're watching after the fact, which I know several people do, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me there, tweet me a question there. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, after it's done being live, of course. And we will get to that question, or your questions, on next week's show. With that being said, let's pull up the chat, address the chat. Thank everyone that is here for let's see, that is here joining us live, including Fernando saying Buenos Dias, WrestleRant. Thank you, Fernando. Buenos Dias. Bonjour from Johnny. So we got Spanish in the chat. We got French in the chat. We got a lot of great representation in the chat. We got more representation here in the chat than WWE does. I kid. Johnny also said, to answer the question that we're going to be getting to, more harm to the reputation of WWE and more help to the finances of WWE. Interesting assessment. We'll get to that a little bit later on as far as what I think is whether TKO has helped or hurt WWE. We'll talk about it later. Hello, wrestling fans, Maria says. Maria, what's going on? Thanks for joining as always. Johnny also said UFC's reputation not doing well either. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak to that personally just because, I don't really follow UFC religiously or as closely as other people do, so I can't really say whether the TKO, ownership has really helped or hurt them. I just know UFC really hasn't been as hot of a commodity as it was like 10 years ago. I mean, definitely 15, 20 years ago, but definitely even 10 years ago, like when Brock made his one-off return, I heard a lot more people talking UFC. I still see people chatting about it today on my timeline. It might be an algorithm thing too, to be honest with you. But it's just not the hot commodity that it once was. I don't know if it's a lack of stars. I know we talk about that within WWE, but, star power also drives companies like UFC. So, I don't know. Interesting question. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, what's up, gang? He's got the love Ziggler emojis in the chat. Richie, I got to tell you something about Richie here. He also said, welcome to the Dirty 30 Club, big dog. He also said, 1 like equals 1 birthday wish. Hey, listen, you heard the man. Listen to Richie. He knows what he's talking about. But thank you, brother. Let me tell you something about Richie. Like I said, I mentioned that birthday party that we had the other day on Sunday that I had to leave the stream for, that I did not intend to go that. I didn't intend to go live to begin with until I saw the R-Truth news, and I'm like, oh, well, fuck, we kind of got to go live to talk about this and give my instant reaction. I don't want to wait until Thursday. Richie, of course, was already at the party by the time I got there. It was supposed to be like a surprise-ish birthday party. But Richie, being even close to an hour and a half away from where we had this party, was there at the very beginning from when I got there, and he was there at the very end. They closed down the fucking place. Him and his wife, Batul, shout out to them. Myself, Alexis, my sister, and Dillon. He's been in the chat several times. He's Alexis's brother. We were just chatting literally for I don't even know honestly how long. I'm not really sure how long we were in the venue for, up until we had to leave the venue when they closed it, and we were still talking for probably like 30, 45, maybe an hour, 30, 45 minutes to an hour after the venue had to close, and we were still in the parking lot chatting. So I made the promise, Richie, and obviously we're going to stick to it very, very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We are going to hang out and do a whole, smorgasbord of things when we reunite in person again. I've gotten to see Richie at least twice in the last 3 weeks. I'm very blessed, both at an NEW show and just on Sunday. So I'm very blessed, and we'll make it a third time. And actually at the WWE headquarters thing, that was back in December, but still 3 times in 6 months is like a fucking blessing. So again, Richie, thank you again for coming. We spoke separately over text and stuff, but I look forward to seeing you again soon. And Batul, of course, as well. Johnny said, how do you like the 4-match setup for Money in the Bank? I think they need an extra match. I'm one of those people, and I said this on the stream on Sunday. I've said this several times. I honestly do not mind the shorter match cards. I don't. I wish the shows were shorter. Like Backlash being 2 hours and 50 minutes, I said, fuck yeah. That show was over by 9:50 Eastern time on the East Coast. It was done by 9:50. AEW's pay-per-views are great. A lot of the times they're better than the WWE shows. But one thing that fucking pisses me off about those shows is that even if I'm not watching live, I was going to say when I'm watching live, but even when I'm not watching live, they're over at like 12:30. And I still have work to do after the shows are over. So I don't go to bed. I mean, I go to bed late anyway. Not really by choice. It's kind of a whole circumstance thing. But, the AEW pay-per-views just end way too fucking late. Either start them sooner or make them smaller cards. I don't think you need 10-match cards, in my opinion. But I don't think you should also have 4-match cards. I know the Money in the Bank ladder matches are attraction matches. I know they had a 4-match card for Elimination Chamber. But Elimination Chamber lasts a lot longer than Money in the Bank. Elimination Chamber, you can make 30 minutes because you have each elimination. You could drag it out. And they also did the Cody Rhodes John Cena angle on that show, where they turned John Cena heel. That ate up a bunch of time as well. For fucking Rock's and Travis Scott's entrance alone, that ate up a ton of time. I don't think they're doing a big angle on Sunday, or Saturday rather, for Money in the Bank. I mean, I guess they could. when Goldberg comes back, I think it's happening on Raw. I think it happens on Raw. He costs Gunther the World Heavyweight Championship. Not really a bold prediction at this point, but that was my first thought when they announced that match for Raw. Jey Uso Gunther, the rematch for Mania on Raw this coming week. I think Gunther comes back there, or Goldberg rather comes back there. So if you're not getting a big angle that takes up time on Saturday, and we don't need to kill time with a fucking Travis Scott concert or whatever the fuck, just do the matches. I think you can afford to add a fifth match. Now, Punk technically is not advertised for the show. He didn't qualify for Money in the Bank last night, unfortunately. So, at one point, I think he might still be. He was on the poster for the PLE. So I think he'll be there. I guarantee you Punk will be on the show, probably costing Rollins or attempting to cost him the briefcase. Honestly, if they were going to do it, they would have done it last night. I don't think they add it now. But I would have just done him in like Bronson Reed. Maybe not him and Braun Breaker yet, but Bronson Reed specifically targeted Punk. Because Punk was involved in the way that Bronson got hurt at Survivor Series. He was going for a splash off the top rope. You can incorporate this into the storyline if you want. Bronson Reed was going for that top rope splash through the table on top of Roman Reigns. I think it was on top of Roman, and Punk pulled Roman off the table. So had Bronson Reed, even in storyline, hit Roman, I don't think he would have gotten hurt. Maybe he still would have. We don't know. But I feel like he kind of hesitated or shifted his body weight because Punk pulled off Roman off the table off too late or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But he could still blame it on Punk. And it felt like when he came back at Saturday Night's Main Event a couple of weeks ago, he specifically targeted Punk. You're not going to do that match within 2 weeks of Reed returning and then Reed loses clean. That would just be fucking stupid. So there's probably a good reason as to why they're not doing it. I think Becky and Lyra is a great addition to that show. I just feel like you need a fifth match, personally. A 6-match card is usually ideal, to be honest. 4 matches is too little. If the show's over in 2 hours, then great. But I get the feeling it's still going to be a 3-hour show, even with 4 matches. Now, Becky and Lyra ain't going 30 minutes. John Cena and Logan Paul versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes should not go 30 minutes. Maybe 15 minutes max. 20 minutes might be pushing it, considering the talent in that match. And I say that with John Cena being limited, Uso not being the greatest wrestler in the world, Logan Paul being limited. Cody Rhodes is easily the best worker in that match in 2025, which is saying something as well. So, I think you need a fifth match. Anyway, let's move on here. Kareem said, with the $2 super chat, thank you so much. And again, if you send in something in the chat, because this happened the other day, you said props for saying this, you're a real one. First of all, thank you, Kareem. I appreciate the super chat. I don't know if you were talking about the lack of representation within WWE, or if you're talking about the TKO thing. I'm not sure which one you're referring to specifically, but thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. But yeah, there was a discrepancy kind of in the chat on Sunday when we were talking the R-Truth thing. Someone said, he's reading the chat, but he's not reading the right chat. What chat is he reading? And I read the entire chat. It's just that sometimes things get filtered out for whatever reason. I have nothing to do with that. That's a YouTube thing. More often than not, though, if I have not read your chat yet, it's because I'm still higher up. I do ramble. I apologize. And I like to take time on a lot of these comments. If you guys take the time to comment, I like to take the time in answering. That's kind of my logic. So if I haven't gotten to it yet, that's why. It's just not that I've ignored it or not that I haven't seen it. Usually it's because I haven't gotten to it. And just a heads up. A lot of people know that, but there was a discrepancy with some people that weren't familiar with the way that I do things, that were new to the channel on Sunday. Anyway, Maria said, I was very proud of the WWE audience last night. With what specifically? I was not proud of the fact they were fucking chanting what during Lyra's promo. That was annoying as fuck. Oh, if you're talking about like the R-Truth thing, then yeah, that was nice. I did not catch up on that. I didn't, catch on to that until after the show. Because I heard them chanting something during, I think, Raquel and Kairi Sane. And I'm like, they're not chanting for Kairi or for, I don't know what they were chanting. And now I know in retrospect, they were chanting for R-Truth. And I heard people saying that on Twitter because, like I said, I didn't watch the show live. So, yeah, if that's what you're talking about, then great. What I did not like about the crowd in Oklahoma last night was that they were chanting what during Lyra's promo. Bro, it's 2020 fucking 5. Why are we still doing this? It doesn't even make sense. She was speaking, first of all, even if she's not speaking English, it's still stupid to do. But she was speaking plain, clear English. No issues with her tone or her cadence. And as Sean Ross Sapp said, and it's hard to disagree with this, honestly, a lot of people target the what chants towards the women. I mean, I don't know if that's a coincidence. It feels like it happens a lot more during the women's promos. And we had a whole discussion a couple of months ago here on the channel. The women's promos versus the men's promos. The men's promos are typically better, but a lot of the promos that they're whatting are not bad. If they're bad, then I guess go ahead. But even then, the what chants are still fucking cancer. They're terrible. But during Lyra's promo, Lyra cut one of the better promos of her career last night. She's been cutting great promos since the whole Becky feud started back in April. And she gets whatted. She's a babyface. What the fuck is the point of that? I just thought that was stupid. AJ Watson, thank you for joining us. AJ, what's going on, brother? He said, what do you think is R-Truth's best or more memorable match ever? Is it him and Miz versus Rock and Cena? You know, listen, someone asked me that during the chat on Sunday when we were talking about R-Truth. What is R-Truth's best match ever? And honestly, even later on in the day when I was trying to think about it, because that was like right after the R-Truth thing happened, so I was kind of put on the spot when someone asked about it. I thought more about it later on in the night, and I'm thinking, bro, honestly, I don't think there's one like great R-Truth match. I mean, there must be. In WWE, I'm talking about, not in TNA or even his original WWE run. Even then, I don't think there's one truly great match. But Truth, and I don't mean this as a slight. I'm saying he was there for 17 years, and I don't think there was one match. And the guy is not a bad worker. And even bad workers have had amazing matches. I don't think there was one match that I would go back and watch with R-Truth. There's a lot of compilation videos I would watch of his best moments, of thinking that the Royal Rumble was Money in the Bank. The Elimination Chamber 2012 debate segment. I mentioned that on Sunday during the stream. A lot of R-Truth great moments. Him and Brock Lesnar was really fucking funny. Him in the Judgment Day was great. Him going out there pretending John Cena is his childhood hero. Maybe not so much recently, because it kind of got old by the end there, but for the last 6-7 years, him doing that was pretty funny. You know, a lot of different stuff. Him with Carmelo was entertaining. He's had a lot of great moments, even the heel turn itself. But I don't think he had one truly, like, great match. And I think maybe not his best. And even the match isn't bad, so it might be his best. His most memorable match, I think, was the one that you mentioned. Teaming with Miz, Madison Square Garden, against Cena and Rock, two of the biggest stars of all time, at Survivor Series, on Rock's 15-year anniversary. It's got to be that one. It has to be. And again, the match itself isn't an instant classic, but it was a big spot for him. Awesome Truth was great. It actually almost didn't happen. He actually talked about this a few different times, and I remember him talking to Chris Jericho about it on Talk is Jericho years ago. But Truth actually was suspended. The day after that match on Raw, he was attacked by Miz, and then it was announced on Tuesday that he was suspended for violating the wellness policy, I think for 30 days. And he came back a month later as a babyface, and he's been kooky and crazy, fan favorite Truth ever since, up until he was fired, of course, or not renewed a couple days ago. But, yeah, that match almost didn't happen because he got suspended. And he talked about how he was suspended before that match. Again, it came out publicly after the fact, and it's not as if I don't think he was going to win. I don't think they were going to go in there and win, and they changed plans because R-Truth got suspended. I don't think that was the case. But the fact they even did the match and they didn't pivot, I know that's a Rock term, and Rock was involved in the match, I know, and they didn't put R-Truth, someone in place of R-Truth in the match and have someone replace him, I think is cool. Now, they do it for what's convenient for them. They did the same thing with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns got suspended for whatever reason back in 2016. They had him go in there, and he lost clean, probably because he got suspended. But he was suspended before he lost the championship, before Money in the Bank 2016. But the news didn't break until Monday or Tuesday, at which point then they announced he was suspended because they wanted him to work the show. And they did the same thing with R-Truth. I guess when it's your company, it's your rules. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But yeah, honestly, that's probably his most memorable match. I don't know what else it would be. I know him and Cena at Capital Punishment. I don't think I've gone back and watched that match more than once or twice. I mean, that entire show was largely not good. But the match itself wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Cena winning clean, whatever. But just the allure of him teaming with Miz, a good partner of his at the time, and that was very short-lived. And thankfully, they brought it back in WWE last year, which I thought was cool. But, teaming against The Rock, and The Rock's first match in like 7 or 8 years was a really big deal. That was a really big deal. So, and the match itself I thought was entertaining for what it was. So honestly, probably that match. No L said, first of all, no, great to see you in the chat. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your question/questions. I will get to them later that you sent in over Facebook. But anyway, you said, happy first week of June, everyone. Wow, we're in June already. Crazy, y'all. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Do not remind me. I mean, one thing I've learned more than anything, the older you get, the quicker time goes. And I don't know if it's a busy thing or just a mental thing or just a lot going on. I don't know what it is. So you got to appreciate the time while you have, because the time goes by like that. Honestly, like, days become weeks, months become years. 5 years will feel like 5 months, at least in my own personal experience. The last 5 years specifically went by a lot quicker than even the 5 years prior to that. So again, just keep that in mind. But happy June. Happy June nonetheless. Let's see. Fernando said, I think they have done more harm to WWE than good. Excuse me. Talking about TKO. They jacked up the ticket prices too high, and the bean counters are releasing too many talent. What is the, I don't know, what is that supposed to be a term for? The bean count? Is that, I don't know, what is that an expression? Hopefully it's something offensive. I haven't heard that before, but releasing too many talent is debatable, because a lot of the talent they've gotten rid of, to be honest with you, it depends who we're talking about, because they've also brought in a lot of talent as well. They've brought in a lot of great talent. You forgot to mention that part. With all the great talent that you bring in, you have to let people go. Now, I wouldn't let go of people like Dakota Kai. There's also a lot of people that you wouldn't even remember got released, like, Top Dollar got released twice, or at least the second time under TKO. Have people really given a shit about that, to be honest with you? Probably not. He's done actually pretty well in TNA. Riddick Moss, I mean, was he really a future star in that company? Probably not. They've trimmed the fat, but they've also cut several people that are highly questionable, including R-Truth, for different reasons. Daniel Malcolm with the Love Ziggler chat, emoji in the chat. Richie with the Veer emoji in the chat. Thank you guys for sharing those. You unlock access to those by becoming a WrestleRant channel member. So if that appeals to you, sign on up, and you can unlock access to those amazing emojis in the chat during the live streams that we do. Fernando said, I don't know if you're old enough to remember that boxing booking. Boxing was a major attraction all year round, but started messing with the fans like TKO is right now, and boxing has had a huge fall from where it was. I mean, I know boxing was a big attraction at one point in time. I just didn't know. I can't do a thesis. I can't write a thesis on why boxing is not as popular as it was. I don't know if it was a product of the times type of thing, or if it was a greed thing like you mentioned, where they started pricing people out. I know UFC came along. That was a really big thing in the mid-2000s. When was like boxing like really not at its peak, but like last really popular? Because I know there's been fights in the last 10, 15 years, like the whole McGregor-Pacquiao fight, and obviously Jake Paul and Mike Tyson a couple of months ago, which was a bust in terms of being interesting. Ultimately, the build was there, the hype was there. They obviously made a lot of money off that fight, but the fight itself left a lot to be desired, if we're being completely honest. But I don't know when boxing was really like when I was growing up personally. I mean, I was also a kid, so I don't remember. But like in the mid-2000s, I don't remember boxing being a big attraction. Like, oh, I got to go watch this fight. It was probably last really, really, really popular in the 90s, but I could be wrong on that. Johnny said lack of mega star power for UFC as to why they kind of had to fall from grace. I guess that would make sense. Yeah, lack of mega star power, because they had a lot of stars. Conor McGregor was one of the hottest commodities in the world when he was at his peak. Daniel Cormier, which I know he retired, obviously, from active competition. John Jones, is he not still there? He's still there, right? But they had a lot of people that were big draws that are no longer there or retired, and they have a lot of great talent now from what I can gather, but they're not on the same, box office draw that Brock was when Brock came in 20 years ago, among other people that were around at that point. Cain Velasquez, now he's in jail, I believe, but him, not Mark Hunt, Brock faced him in 2016, not him. There was another guy though. I don't remember. Not Vladimir. I don't remember. Whoever Brock faced in his first fight, He was a big draw when he first started out in UFC, I think. Richie said, had a fun time, would have stayed later if I could have. Thank you, Richie. I appreciate you saying that. We would have too. We were cold. We weren't freezing. It was 60 degrees. But listen, we're Northeasterners. We've dealt through worse. But if time permitted, I would have been there all night, brother. So I appreciate that. We will continue the conversation and the enjoyment from Sunday when we hang out again soon, for sure. Dax H, what's going on, brother? Thank you for chatting in and joining us here on the show. He said, off topic, but who wins between a WWE debut, Jacob Fatu and prime 2014 Brock Lesnar? I would have Fatu go over. Oh, okay. So, like, who would win in a match between Jacob Fatu, like, his debut last year, and then Brock in 2014? I mean, Brock was already established in 2014. He was prime because he ended the streak, but it's not like every match that he was having was a banger. I mean, he had some matches with Taker that were just fucking terrible. So, among other people at that point, I would go Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu from last year and not Jacob Fatu in 20. I don't even know if he was wrestling in 2014. I would go Fatu. I would have Fatu be the one to have handed Lesnar his first loss since breaking the streak. Not Goldberg. That was, I know it was a shocking moment, but it was garbage. I'm still not a fan of that personally. But anyway, yeah, I probably would have Fatu go over as well. Just knowing where Brock was. I mean, Brock had just ended the streak. So maybe you wouldn't have Brock go over. I guess it's kind of the same thing as like Samoa Joe in 2017. I mean, by that point, Brock had already lost. He honestly could have lost to Samoa Joe and it would have been fine. But they didn't do it. They went in a different direction, which was fucking dumb. Revamped Wrestling said Roman Reigns returns at Money in the Bank. Punk will cost Seth the match. Yeah, I could see it. There were a lot of rumors about Roman being back around Money in the Bank. Could be back this weekend. Could be the one to cost Seth. I mean, how do you have Seth in Money in the Bank and Punk doesn't attempt to interfere? That he would just be a fucking idiot. If Seth was just, I mean, Seth was the one who cost Punk the opportunity to qualify in Monday. So Punk would just sit at home and be like, yeah, you can win the briefcase. I don't care. I mean, if he was really diabolical, he would have Seth win and then thwart his cash in. But we just saw that with Punk last year with Drew McIntyre. That's just fucking stupid. I mean, we actually asked that question last year. Why wouldn't Punk cost Drew the briefcase? He did by costing him his cash in later on the show. But that's just a waste. We literally just saw that last year. That would just be fucking lazy. So I hope that doesn't happen. Maria said, do you believe the rumors are true that Miz is also going to leave WWE? No. So that stemmed from, which I wasn't aware of until I saw someone bring it up on Twitter yesterday. I think Sean Rossap actually addressed it on Fightful. But people started saying that because he took mentions of WWE out of his bio and unfollowed them on social media. Could it be a sign of something? Because why else would he do that? Maybe. Do I think he is definitely leaving? No, because I feel like if he wasn't being renewed, like he would have said something alongside R-Truth. He wouldn't have just put up that post for Truth. Like, I highly doubt, like, and again, it's not a case of like them telling him, hey, we're not going to renew you, but we're going to use you on TV in the meantime. They don't do that. If they know they're not renewing you, as soon as you go public with it, or as soon as, like Carlito, for example, he's not done. He's technically still under contract. They could use him on TV. They could write him off. They don't do that. They just do not do that sort of thing. If they're trying to re-sign you, then they do that. Like Ricochet, for example, we knew he was on his way out probably, but they were still trying to re-sign him. So they let him finish out his dates on Raw. They knew they were not re-signing R-Truth or Carlito, so we're not going to see them on WWE TV again. They can make a mention as to why they're not there, but they're not going to have them finish out their dates. I feel like they should, but maybe they're worried about like them not giving a fuck because they know they're on their way out and it's not their choice. I don't know. I'm not really sure why they do that, but that's just my guess. As far as Miz goes, is there a chance that Miz could not be re-signed? Honestly, yes. I mean, Miz has not been booked at a prominent level at all under Triple H. Even less so than fucking Truth. I mean, at least Truth is, I mean, he was the tag team champion with Miz. But even Truth was a much bigger merch seller than Miz. I know Miz does media, but okay, so did Braun Strowman. They don't give a fuck. They do not give a fuck. Any factor that you could use as to like, oh, Miz has been there for such a long time. He's a company guy. He does all the media. Brother, TKO doesn't give a shit. And we'll get to this later on. They don't give a fuck. If they see you making a certain amount and you're this age and we're not really doing much with you on TV, and we have no immediate plan for you, it's really cash, creative, and age. Those are the three factors seemingly they look at. They probably thought, okay, R-Truth is 53. He just did the John Cena thing, so we have no creative. And he's probably making several $100,000. Was he making close to $1 million? I don't know what Vince paid him under his previous deal. We have no idea. But that's basically the case. It's not a loyalty thing. It's not a longevity thing. They do not give a fuck. They don't care. So, honestly, there is a chance that Miz doesn't get re-signed. Or he just leaves on his own because he feels that he's not valued. But, I mean, he can go on to do hosting stuff and other gigs. I doubt he'd go to, like, fucking AEW or something like that. Or to TNA. Like, I don't see Miz continuing to wrestle in other big-time promotions. He could do an indie thing. Was Miz ever really on the indies before he did Tough Enough? I feel like that'd be fun. But he's probably like a fucking millionaire at this point. He doesn't have to do that shit if he doesn't want to. But no, if I had to take a guess, I don't think Miz is leaving, but it honestly isn't that far-fetched. I don't think the whole unfollowing WWE is an indicator that he definitely is leaving. But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked. Just because between Miz, Natalya's another one. Like, they haven't done shit with her on television since she resigned. What was even the point? Why did they even renew her, to be honest? So she didn't go to AEW? Legitimately, I feel like that's the only reason. Because if she had not signed last year, she could have gone right into the Owen Hart Cup. They could have put her in the Owen Hart Cup last year. And they couldn't because WWE re-signed her to do what? She's done nothing. She has done absolutely nothing. She's done the NWA thing and the GCW shit, which is cool. But on WWE television, they have done nothing to justify them bringing her back. If they made her a manager, or not even really a manager, but like a backstage producer or a coach, then sure. But they haven't. And I feel like they did that just so she didn't go to AEW. Truth, clearly they don't give a fuck whether he goes there or not, because they probably know that he won't go there, or they're not going to hire, on a full-time basis anyway, a 53-year-old R-Truth for the next 5 years. But maybe they will. We don't know. Richie said, speaking of Bronson Reed, did anyone else notice that it looks like he slimmed down? I'd say anywhere between 30, 40 pounds. He looked good last night on Raw. That was the first thing I noticed. As soon as he came out, and he was on Raw last week. He was at Saturday Night's Main Event. But he was in his gear yesterday. And you could tell in the gear, because the gear is, much more slim-fitting and whatever. He's not big Bronson Reed anymore. He's still big, but he's not as big as he was. He's trim Bronson Reed. So, yeah, he looked really good. Good for him. And I don't know if that was a case of, him wanting to just be smaller, or, he was off the road for a long time, for 6-7 months, and I don't know. I don't know what his rationale is for slimming down, but whatever the reason, regardless of the reason, he looks great. So, kudos to Bronson Reed. Grunt, what's going on, brother? He's in the chat saying, hey, happy 30th. Welcome to the club. You'll hate it here. Well, thank you for welcoming me in. I appreciate it. It was inevitable, right? I mean, you either make it that far and you're there, or you don't make it that far for whatever reason, and you don't make it to 30. So I guess it's inevitable either way. We're all headed to the same place. Some sooner than others, some later than others, but for now we're in the 30 club, and I'm grateful to have seen another day. Tomorrows are never guaranteed, but I appreciate that, Grunt. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate the birthday wishes both here and on Twitter last night. Means a lot. Hope you're doing well. Johnny said the commercials might be 30 minutes each in Money in the Bank. Hey, wouldn't be shocked. I know Peacock is different than Saturday Night's Main Event, which was on Peacock, but they go off of NBC commercials and not Peacock commercials. Those commercials were fucking long. Hey, it gives me a chance to get food and go take a piss, so it's not like AEW's where I have no time to do anything. So, I mean, I guess there are some positives there. Maria said, I was talking about the truth chants. Yeah, talking about praising the crowd from last night. That's what I figured. The more I thought about it, that's what I figured you were talking about. Johnny said, in 2002, Undertaker had the best clapback to the what chants. Yes, he did. For those that are unfamiliar, he said, if you sleep with your sister, say what? And then all the friggin' drones in the crowd said what? Not realizing what he said. Or something to that effect. He said something like that. It was really funny. Still, Alexa Bliss had a good one a couple years ago, but that Taker one may never be beat. Richie said, Lyra's been doing her best work with Becky, as one has to do because it's Becky. Oklahoma City pissed me off with that, but it didn't take me out of her promo, which I thought was good. She showed some fire. I agree. I thought she cut a very good promo, showed great fire. I've been really enjoying the feud, and the best part is we know the matches are going to be fucking awesome because the first match was great. And it's not even just like, oh, we know they're good. We know the matches will be good because they're good. No, we actually literally saw it. We literally saw it at Backlash a couple of weeks ago, how good their chemistry is in the ring. And we saw it in NXT a few years ago. Johnny said Ron the Truth Killings might return to TNA. Yeah, I could see it. I could totally see that. Especially given the relationship with WWE. I mean, I don't know if he's on bad terms with WWE. He's probably salty they didn't re-sign him, which I understand. Totally get that. But yeah, anyway, I could totally see that. Maybe it's Slammiversary. If his contract isn't renewed, that means he has no 90. He has no 90-day non-compete, so he could show up at Slammiversary or sooner than that if he wanted to. Hayes said, first of all, thank you for joining us, Hayes. Hayes said, R-Truth's most memorable match was him and Little Jimmy versus John Cena. Yes, it was. If you're talking capital punishment, I would go Survivor Series, but that might be a close number 2. Richie said his stuff with Cena was good in 2011. I can't quite remember the match, though, a capital punishment. But then again, I don't think I've ever actually seen it. The show itself, the show itself had a Barack Obama impersonator out there with, I don't know who it was, but the match actually had the show had some decent matches on it. But Cena in Truth wasn't really anything above average. It was a pretty mediocre pay-per-view main event. The feud was a lot better than the match itself. Richie also said, he said, memorable moments for sure, but I feel like Truth didn't get the chance to shine in a singles role in WWE during his tenure there to allow him a great match. They just never saw him in that role. I mean, he was pushed on his own to a certain degree from 2008 through 2011. Like, his work in TNA got him back in WWE. It wasn't just that they liked him, but I think it was because he made such a splash for himself in TNA that they were like, oh yeah, I don't know what got him fired from WWE in the first place. I don't know if it was his fault, if he decided to leave. I forget what happened there. But they brought him back surely because of the success that he had in TNA. But he wasn't the same guy, though. Like, he was rapping. He was rapping in TNA too, I think. But he was more of the fun-loving R-Truth. Like, oh, like, this is fun, whatever. And, that was fine, and they had some good matches. But the best work of his career has been as a comedy character. Once you excel at that, like Santino Marella, for example, really, not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he was much better in the ring than WWE would let you know, because he was constantly put in a comedy character role, and he excelled at it. Honestly, he probably had a much longer career doing that than he would have if he was a straight, serious heel as a wrestler. Probably wouldn't have lasted long, but as Santino, he was there for almost a decade. Truth was there for 17 years, for this most recent run, not even including the time that he was there during the Attitude Era. So, yeah, it is a shame that he didn't have more opportunities to show what he could do as a singles performer. But honestly, even the matches that he did have that were serious, like I remember him having matches with John Morrison, John Cena, CM Punk. They were fine. He was better. I don't know. It must have been a TNA thing. I can't even entirely blame WWE in that sense early on, because it's like he was given opportunities. I just don't. And I've been watching WWE the entire time R-Truth was around, so I could tell you firsthand. He had a lot of different feuds, and a lot of which were decent, but it's not like he was out there having these kick-ass matches. I don't know if it's a case of him just, not phoning it in, but knowing he can get away with only doing so much, or they just didn't let him loose as a heel, which they kind of did in 2011. But even then, even in 2011 as a heel, he wasn't out there having these amazing matches with Miz and with Cena, with Morrison. The matches were always kind of good, but never really great. Let's see. Fernando said, bean counters is another term for penny pinchers. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao 10 years ago may have been the last biggest boxing fight next to Mayweather and McGregor and the recent Tyson fight. Yeah, exactly, in quotation marks. I saw all three of those. So the fact that I know all three and I couldn't tell you a single other boxing match that has happened probably tells you that boxing has certainly fallen off. Johnny mentioned, the other UFC draws. Ronda Rousey, Chuck Liddell. I remember Chuck Liddell. Anderson Silva, GSP. I remember all of them. Nowadays, I couldn't tell you a lot. Like if you told me the list of current UFC champions, I probably couldn't pick them out of a lineup. I would probably have no idea what you're talking about. And it's not like I watched back then and I don't watch now. I've never really watched it religiously. I've seen several pay-per-views or fights and stuff like that. It's just that I don't hear people talking about it the same way they did or the same amount that they did several years ago. Richie said, boxing, though nowadays, still has more star power than UFC right now. There hasn't been a UFC fight that I paid attention to in deep. That's another one. Like I said, UFC I just have not watched, really paid much attention to at all in quite some time. Fernando said Road Dogg taking his tweet showing love for Truth was a coward move. Taking down his tweet. Yeah, I guess he tweeted something about... It was weird. Like, him and Truth are really close because they came up together. Not came up together. Road Dogg was around before R-Truth, but, they had that whole team in, like, 99, 2000 or whatever. It was Road Dogg and K-Quick. And I didn't even know that the tweet existed until I heard Solomonster mention it. And he was like... He had talked about what Road Dogg said, and he said that, oh, I love R-Truth. I don't care who knows it. And he said this sort of stuff is the nature of the beast, talking about probably the releases and not renewing contracts. I don't know if it's because people told him, hey, don't oh, yeah, because he's not wrong. Releases are a nature of the beast. But it just sounds really fucking dumb coming from someone that works within the company. Like, it just sounds tone deaf. Like, we know that releases are nature of the beast. Like, it's just an organic thing. We get that. We understand that. We know it's part of the process. Probably not the best time to be saying that, though. No one's arguing that. It's specifically R-Truth himself. Why are we releasing him specifically? That was dumb to a lot of people, including myself. So, and I don't disagree with that. Grunt said, hearing Cole constantly bring up how cold the night one of WrestleMania 40 was so funny to me as a Northeasterner, because I would have been in the crowd in shorts and a T-shirt for sure. Yes, Grunt is Canadian. I mean, you're right. I agree. I was the same way. I mean, I was in the press box for Mania 40, but we had the window open for night one. Was it cold? Sure. It was a lot colder for that Mania than it was for 39 in California or 38 in Texas or 37 in Tampa. I understand that. But it's the fucking Northeast. I mean, it was colder than it should have been for early April. Again, I get it. But at the same time, though, it's like, it's not that cold. Like, people were really complaining about it, and it ruined people's enjoyment of the show. And I agree, but it's like, okay, if you people are actually from the area, which you're not, which I understand, we've had a lot worse. It could be fucking February and snowing. It wasn't snowing. It wasn't that big of a deal. Anyway, Pseudo, what's going on? Pseudo, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. He said, what up, y'all? I'm late because we have the IPL finals on right now. It's like our Super Bowl finals of cricket. Take care, y'all. Interesting. It's very cool. Hope you enjoy, Pseudo. Thank you for popping in and saying that. Hope you're doing well. And enjoy the IPA. That's a fucking beer. I don't even drink. IPL finals, rather. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Richie can attest to how cold it was because he was like right by the stage, up and like behind the stage, higher up. So he was in the fucking atmosphere for that one, so he knows how cold it was. I'm like, I don't know. I've dealt with colder. 35 was cold too, not as cold, but it was still cold. So I didn't really think it's not like it was snowing. That would be much worse. Mike has said, let's see, what's really left for the Miz to do in WWE? First of all, Michael, thanks for joining. As always, great to see you. He said, what's really left for Miz to do in WWE? He might be next, but at that point, what stars do they have left? What stars do they have left, or what? I mean, they have a lot more stars other than Miz, if that's your question, but for the Miz, I mean, you're right. There is nothing really left for him to do. You can utilize Miz in a meaningful role because he's still very good. Miz is not washed. He's not bad in the ring. I just hate his fucking booking. Like, I hate the Miz's booking. The whole, like, him with Carmelo sucks. They book him like a joke. So now they're talking about, oh, big balls. Like, he's the fucking host of Wipeout. It's stupid. I mean, he hasn't really done that in a while, I guess, but Miz, I mean, even R-Truth, you could argue, oh, what more can he do? But there's roles for people like Truth. Miz, honestly, and I mentioned him on Sunday, like, at least with the Miz, he's done all there is to do, and the shit that he's involved with is, and it's not always his fault. I would say a lot of the times it's not his fault, but it's also partially his fault because, I'm sure he has some say or like, I don't know. But at least with Miz, the shit that he's involved with is almost learning tree level bad. It's fucking terrible. And I love the Miz. This is coming from someone that has been a lifelong Miz fan. The shit that he's been involved with for the last maybe 5 years on the whole has been fucking garbage. The Miz and Morrison reunion stuff, a lot of that sucked, unfortunately. The big balls shit with Logan Paul sucked, even though the match was good. The zombies from with Damian Priest in 2021 sucked. The Shane McMahon stuff sucked towards the end, and that was a booking issue, but it's like, what are we doing with this guy? So at that point, if he were to leave, I can't say or if they were to not re-sign him, it's not like, I mean, it's a loss, but at the same time, it's like, okay, he's involved in some pretty terrible segments, so I can't say I'm completely shocked. Let's see. Micah said, WrestleMania won't sell out for Wesley versus the Don from NXT. I can't even remember that jobber's name. WrestleMania won't sell out for Wesley versus the Don from NXT. Is that what you're saying? Like, is that supposed to be like the main event of Mania? I don't think that was ever. I don't think Wesley. I don't even know if he gets called up, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure if Wesley ever makes the main roster. I love Wesley. I'm just not sure if he ever makes the main roster. Same thing with Tony D'Angelo at this point. But his name is Tony D'Angelo. That is that jobber's name. Richie said, as much as we hate Vince, at least when he was in charge, WWE felt like a family amongst employees. TKO is now a business and a ruthless one at that. Tenure meant nothing. Tenure means nothing when money is there to be made. That is their mantra. Richie hit the nail right on the head with that one. He also said Natalia's contract got renewed so she can get another cat and more Botox. I will say nothing about that, but I will say I'll leave that one there because that's pretty fucking funny. I don't want to be mean, so I won't make any more comments, but it came from Richie, not from me. So I can't be held responsible. But he also said, meanwhile, TJ is still sitting on their couch watching Cesaro matches. Yeah, go back and watch that clip from Total Divas. We were joking about that the other day. And yeah, it's a great clip. It's one of the all-time Total Divas clips for sure. Grunt said Natalya would have been cool to have at least in one Owen for sure. Yeah, listen, I think Natalya, I'll just say this. I've never been Natalya's biggest fan. I enjoyed her more 15 years ago when she was the best amongst that crop of women that were there. She was an actual wrestler. But she's been there for a fucking, minute. She's been there for 17 years, pretty much as long as R-Truth. And it's not that she's bad nowadays, but she's done all there is to do. She just does nothing to interest. She does the same shtick that she's been doing for at least 10 years now. And there's women that are just better than she is. So loaning her out to other promotions is cool. I would like to just see her in those other promotions, period. I think I said last year it would be interesting to see her leave and go to a TNA full-time or to go to an AEW if they would have her. Put her in the Owen. It would be cool. Like, it's cool that she's doing that now while still under WWE. She probably doesn't want to leave while still under WWE contract. I'm just saying, as a fan, I would much rather see Natalya go out and do other stuff as opposed to stay in WWE and do the same shit she's been doing for 10 years. But at the same time, if she's, I'm not going to say, fire this woman. If she's making money and she's making a living and she wants to stay, that's TKO's decision to make. It is very odd to me, though, that they would have her resign. They would want to resign her and then do nothing with her. That just tells me they didn't want her to go to AEW. I don't really know what else the reason would be, because it's certainly not loyalty. This company doesn't give a fuck about that, I'll tell you that much right now. Fernando said, I hope Gunther doesn't go anywhere. I don't think he will. I think he just re-signed a year ago. I know he's another one that deleted all references of WWE and all of his tweets and all this other shit. I don't think he goes anywhere. Just given the way that they've slotted him, the run that he's had there. I mean, I said the same thing about Mariah May, but where the fuck is Gunther going to go that he's making WWE money? Probably not AEW. I mean, AEW will offer you a lot of money, but he's making, I'm sure, he signed a pretty hefty contract, I'm sure, last year when he was World Heavyweight Champion. He's been one of the best booked NXT call-ups of all time. Triple H clearly loves him. He's still in a prominent spot. I don't really know why he would leave, and I don't think he's a guy that TKO is going to want to get rid of. Not that he's as important as Cody or someone like that, but he's still one of their top stars. Why would you let his contract lapse? Wrestling Fan 13 said, first of all, thank you for joining us. wrestling fan. Second of all, you said, honestly, I think it's a better approach to not renew a wrestler's contract as opposed to flat out releasing them before their deals come up. As much as it sucks, it's a nicer business approach. I agree with that. That's not really being brought up. I don't want to make light of the situation, but you're 1,000% correct. It is better than just saying R-Truth, you're fired. Carlito, you're fired. Valhalla, you're fired. They're actually waiting until the deals come up. AEW does that. Now, apparently they don't tell the talent they're not being renewed. They just don't fucking say anything to them. I mean, that's kind of shitty. But AEW does that a lot more, where they just let deals expire and then they don't renew them. I like that because at least you're there. I mean, they might think they're getting re-signed and then they don't. That's different. Truth, I don't know why he would have any reason to believe that he wasn't getting re-signed. He's been there for almost 20 fucking years consistently. But at least for a fact, if you're, being realistic, knowing that in this company, job security isn't a thing that doesn't exist. At least okay, if I sign a 3-year deal, I'm there for 3 years. This bullshit where they fucking sign people to new deals and then they fire them 6 months in, then why even fucking sign them to 3-year deals? It's because WWE and companies in general hold the power. It only benefits them. It does not benefit you unless you get a no-cut contract, but that's very rare. I'm not even sure how many people have that in WWE. They should, but WWE, they're like, okay, we're not going to put that in your contract. We're fine not signing you. The talent might be more desperate to sign there than WWE is to have them. Like, I don't know if Punk is a no-cut I mean, they're not going to fucking release CM Punk unless he has reason to be released. But I'm just saying, he's a guy I could see having it worked into his contract. You ain't releasing me on budget cuts, Chief. You're going to pay me millions of dollars, and you're not going to fucking fire me for no reason. Unless you have, just cause or something like that. But I do agree, though. I am happy that at the very least, they're not just outright releasing people, and they are instead allowing their contracts to expire. So I do agree with that. Pseudo said, happiest birthday. Thank you, Pseudo. I appreciate that. Richie also said, where is Alexis and Dillon and Tyreek? Tyreek is Alexis. I think we established that. But no, in all seriousness, I'm not sure. I know Alexis is busy right now. Dillon, he pops in once in a while. He's not here today. He did ask me yesterday when I saw him, what's the stream about tomorrow? I said, just answering questions. He might pop in on Saturday or on Thursday. We're not doing a stream on Saturday. I'll be in Disney at that point. I'll be in the Muppets ride. But no Alexis and Dillon today. Alexis is probably busy. She was exhausted yesterday. I'm still exhausted now. That's why my voice is still a little bit shot from the weekend. But maybe they'll pop up before the end of the stream. I'm not sure. Wrestling fan said, I know Saturday's Money in the Bank PLE is a 4-match card currently. Do you think another match will be added before Saturday? We talked about that before. If they were going to add one from Raw, they would have already announced it, but they didn't. So it would have to be a SmackDown match. What would the SmackDown match be? Please do not fucking do Zelina Vega and Chelsea Green again. I mean, she already beat her in a rematch at Saturday Night's Main Event. Please do not do that. What would the match be? Because Julia facing Zelina would make sense, but Julia's in Money in the Bank, so no. Fatu and Priest? Fatu's not in Money in the Bank, so they could do that. I don't know if they would rush into it, but Priest did say on last week's show that he wants the United States Championship, so that's an option. Maybe the Profits and Frack team again? Maybe? Tiffany versus who? We don't have a number one contender right now. So I'm not sure. I think they should add a 5th match. I'm not confident. WWE really likes these 4 or 5-match cards. A 5-match card is fine with me. 4 matches is a little too little. I'm going to say no. I don't think another match will be added. Do I think there should be? Yes. And I would make it something. I mean, I would have made it like Punk versus Reed or something, or Rollins and Zayn, but Rollins is in Money in the Bank. So that's not happening. I'm going to say no, because I feel like if they were going to add another match, they would have done so last night. And I don't know what match from SmackDown it would be, because I don't think Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso are both world champions, and they're in a tag team match. So we're not getting world title defenses unless it's a women's match. I don't really want Zelina defending against Chelsea again, unless it's against Julia, but she's in Money in the Bank, like I said. Fatu and Priest would make sense, unless there's another match, like a feud brewing on SmackDown I'm not thinking of. JC Mateo maybe in Fatu, that's a possibility. I don't know what it would be. Grunt said, speaking of AEW, it's official. I'll be going to All Out on September 20th. That is awesome, Grunt. I hope you have an awesome time. I went to All Out in 2021. Probably the best AEW show they've ever done. I think the best AEW show they've ever done. One of the best pay-per-views in general in the last 5-10 years. But that's cool. Is that your first AEW show, Grunt? Because I know they've been to Canada a lot in recent years. I don't know if you made any of those shows, but All Out on September 20th this year should be a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoy. Fernando said, Stone Cold is my GOAT, but the what chants make no sense. He hasn't done that gimmick in forever. Our parents training the younger fans to chant what? How is it still a thing? It's because, I don't think they're training kids to do it, but they hear other people do it, they chime in. It's because there hasn't been a period where it hasn't been done. Things do die out, but when you hear it every fucking week, people like to partake in the show. They like to chant things. A match will be, phenomenally average, and they will chant, "This is awesome." Because fans just like to chant shit, specifically in WWE. Daniel said, didn't Truth also debut his WWE theme originally in TNA? Maybe not as an entrance theme, but I swear they played it at one point. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. The What's Up song you're talking about, he probably did. And R-Truth probably owns the song? I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. But that's a good question. I never watched this TNA run. I started watching TNA at 2008, so he was already gone from TNA at that point. He came back to WWE within months of me watching WWE. So I never really got a taste of his TNA run. But you might be right. Johnny said they were a tag team in TNA. Who? Ron Killings and someone else? We must have been from an earlier chat, obviously. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Even being from Jersey, Daniel said, Mania 40, night 1, more so night 1 than night 2, was cold as shit, LOL. Didn't take away my enjoyment from being there, though. Yeah, I mean, if you go to every Mania, then it's like, okay, I want to deal with a warmer climate. But honestly, 35 was one of my first Manias. It was my second Mania. Well, one, I'm from the Northeast, so I'm fucking used to it. And second of all, it is cold. Bundle up. As Eddie Kingston's theme would say, bundle up. It's a cold world out there, or whatever the fuck his lyrics say. Enjoy the show. Unless the show sucks. Then then I could see people thinking, yeah, this isn't really worth it. But we might not have to deal with that again. I don't think they come back here in the Northeast for the foreseeable future for a Mania. At least not when they did. So it will be hopefully warmer. I mean, it's been cold here in the Northeast, like literally up until a few days ago, and it's fucking June. It was cold on Sunday, and it's June 1st, and it was cold. It made no sense. Fernando said, do you think WWE is too top-heavy? For example, John Cena already faced Randy Orton. After Punk and Cody, who is left for Cena to face that gets your attention? That gets my attention. Interesting question. Breaker's an option. I mean, they're definitely going to do Cena and Logan Paul. You might not like it. I'm not saying you have to like it, but they're definitely doing Cena and Logan Paul when Cena goes back babyface, which at this point, I'm getting the feeling will be imminently. Cena and Logan Paul is going to happen. That's a first time ever match, so, whatever. I'm trying to think. Punk, definitely. Cody, the rematch will happen. I'm not really sure. I mean, Carmelo Hayes at one point would have been cool, but Carmelo's been so devalued and so de-emphasized, I just don't think that's going to happen. Jey Uso, I really don't want to see Cena and Uso. I really don't care about that feud. I don't really care about that match, especially not the match. I mean, Cena's just faced so many people. I say AJ Styles, but that's a match that we've already seen too. It's not even like it's a fresh match. Punk Cody and AJ are all, big matches, and even the Orton one. But we've seen them all before. Like for fresh matches, LA Knight maybe. I don't know if it'd be a great match, but if you have Knight were to beat him, then sure. Knight's a possibility. Priest, no. Balor, they've actually done on Raw many years ago, but probably not. Not the Judgment Day. Dominic, I don't really care about that. I don't know. I'd have to look at the roster. Jacob Fatu just destroying him, but we know how much good that did for Solo Sikoa, which was to say it didn't benefit him really at all. So that was kind of a waste in retrospect. Yeah, I don't know. There's really not a whole lot of fresh Cena matches that stand out as being sexy to me, just because Cena's so washed at this point in the ring that I don't really even think the match by today's standards would be great. Yeah, maybe just Breaker destroying him. Reed destroying him. Anyone really destroying Cena would be fun. I just get the feeling that the Logan Paul match will be happening soon. Let's see. Pseudo said, anyone else? Jey Uso, his twitching, breathing heavily, and making goofy faces during the backstage segment with Gooner today. Gooner. I don't know if that was a typo or if you just called him Gooner, but that's funny. He said he's doing it a lot lately, and it took to look tough and intense. You're not wrong. I have noticed that too. He looks like he's about to cry. A lot of the times when he's out there trying to be serious, I appreciate the straightforward, serious promos, but it looks like he's trying to he's like he looks like conflicted. And some people just have stupid facial reactions. I'm sure I do too. But just, I don't know, it's not really befitting of a world champion. I think Jey Uso as world champion is totally fine, but I'm talking what Pseudo mentioned, the backstage, or the facial expressions in the ring, backstage, doesn't matter. It does look goofy when he goes it looks like he's really upset and he's about to cry. I don't remember him doing that with Roman Reigns. Maybe he was, and I'm just misremembering, but it's more so a recent thing I've noticed, and it just looks weird. Ahmed said, what's up, Graham? Ahmed, what's going on, brother? Thank you for the birthday wishes yesterday. I appreciate that and the kind words. He said here, my favorite versions of Miz was 09 through 2010, Miz when he was U.S. champion, and 2016 IC champion Miz. All great iterations of Miz. Those are probably my favorite versions of Miz. I also like 2011 Miz. He was WWE champ. The Mania match sucked, but I liked Miz's WWE title reign. 2016 Miz, I think, was the best Miz. He had Maurice. He was having very good matches. His mic skills were on another level, post-Talking Smack rant, and they didn't really capitalize on that. He should have been promoted back to the main event at that point, and they didn't do it. I loved Miz at that point. I liked 2014 Hollywood Miz. I thought that was fun. Still kind of does it now. But whenever really he's had Maurice with him, that's been my favorite version of Miz. 09, 2010 Miz was great. I was a big fan of Miz. I've always been a big Miz fan, really, since I started watching WWE in 08. But Maurice being by his side, the best. Maria said, do you think there's a more serious, no-nonsense Miz would regenerate his career? Not at this point. Not at this point. 5 years ago, yeah, but I think he, one, is settled into a certain role where people will never take him seriously at that level again. Two, I think he's content to just phone it in every respect with promos, storylines, matches. And again, I love The Miz. But when was the last real, truly great Miz match that you saw? I'm waiting. Let me know. There's a lot of Miz matches I enjoy, but a truly great Miz match in recent years. And he's never been the best worker, but he's a lot better than people give him credit for. The Gunther match, actually, probably. He had a couple very good matches with Gunther, but it's fucking Gunther. In late 2023, that were actually really good. But they gave up on the babyface turn. I don't know. A lot of the shit they've had him do in the last couple of years has been just garbage. So, no, anytime they do push him as no-nonsense serious, they go right back to the awful comedy. That's been a recurring theme for years. He was no-nonsense serious Miz when he went babyface back in 2019, and then he fucking lost to Shane McMahon 3 times in a row. So at that point, no one gave a shit. Johnny said, WWE's not a family. Remember when Vince fired Shane? That was different leadership, but yeah. They've always had issues. But yeah, that was back in 2022. Probably for the better, because if Shane was out there calling his own spots in the Rumble, you can't be doing that. That shit was terrible, too. Fernando said, WWE is having real heat when people on this stream are mentioning how Vince McMahon wouldn't do some of the things TKO was doing. You're not wrong. They're not wrong. I'm not saying I want Vince McMahon to be back. I'm just saying, and other people are saying, there are certain things that TKO is doing that Vince McMahon would not have done. There's a lot of things TKO are doing that Vince McMahon wouldn't have done. In a good way. Vince would do a lot of dumb shit that TKO would never do as well. So, goes both ways. But yeah, the perception and the morale within WWE right now is not even as high as it was 6 to 12 months ago, which is a problem. And it didn't have to be that way. Micah said, do you think WWE should start a Punk versus Cross feud? Nah, probably not. Punk's going to be busy with Rollins, Breaker, Reed, probably go back to Roman at some point. I want to see him and Cody. I mean, Karrion Kross, that'd be a massive spot for him, but there's other people you could pair Kross off with. Just get fucking Karrion Kross on the show. I wouldn't complain about a Punk Kross feud, but I don't think they're wasting Punk's few years left on people they clearly do not see anything in. If they really saw something in Kross, he would have been in a qualifier. He wasn't even in a qualifier for Money in the Bank. He also said, can we please take the title off of Jey Son Uso? I'm enjoying it while it lasts, so I'm not going to complain. But hopefully, maybe by SummerSlam. I could see him losing the belt to Rollins. I don't know if Rollins wins Money in the Bank to do it. That would be just fucking stupid. That would be dumb. But, yeah, I'm fine with him being the champion for now. So I can't really complain too much. Ask me again in a month or two. Maria said, what's your favorite Disney ride? Ride of the Resistance. Or Rise of the Resistance, rather. The new, not new, but the Star Wars ride. They kind of modeled the sequels over, which, they kind of modeled it from that. That ride's amazing. That and the Guardians ride, Cosmic Rewind from Epcot, those are easily my top 2 favorite Disney rides. Before those came around, I don't know what it would have been. I mean, the Stitch ride, but they got rid of it. Fucking assholes. Punk and Sammy versus Reed and Breaker, Revamped Wrestling said. At Money in the Bank, yeah, they could do that, but they just did Sammy and Jay versus Reed and Breaker on Monday. You could have done that, but then they did that. They basically did that match on Monday, so I just do not see them doing that. Johnny even said Punk and Sammy versus Reed and Breaker, Falls Count Anywhere. That would be cool. I just feel like if they were going to announce it, they would have announced it by now. Raw was on Monday. I don't feel like they'll announce it on social media, but maybe I'm wrong. Grunt said a superstar announcing that they want to go after a mid-card title, ? Always a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. What, if they win Money in the Bank you're talking about? I mean, I forgot what you're referring to, what I was saying. What was I talking about in that you're in reference to? Oh, you're talking about Damian Priest? I feel like that's what you're talking about. Yeah, Damian Priest said he had unfinished business with the United States Championship. So yeah, I did appreciate that, if that's what you're referring to. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the insensitive comments Ric Flair made about Jim Ross? Someone asked about that. I will get to that in a little bit. People are sheep. Wrestling fans, I don't use that word loosely, the whole sheep thing, but wrestling fans can be very sheepish. That is true. Just go with what the masses are doing. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, what? I mean, a lot of wrestling fans have very low IQ levels, and I say that as a wrestling fan. I mean, people are just dumb in general, but there's a lot of wrestling fans that will just go with whatever they hear, for better or for worse. Johnny said, Ron Killings and Road Dogg. Oh, yeah, they were a team in TNA. You are right. I forgot about that. Grunt said they were part of 3 Live Crew. That's what he's talking about. Grunt also said, my third AEW show, he said. I was at the first Dynamite and the first AEW show in Canada in general in Toronto in October of 2022. I remember that. It's when they signed Renee Paquette. He was also at Forbidden Door 2023 featuring Omega and Ospreay 2 and Danielson versus Okada. That was an excellent show. I didn't love Forbidden Door last year. I thought it was the weakest of the ones they've done. But Forbidden Door 23 and 22 were both excellent shows. Daniel said, I feel like they did play What's Up in TNA because I remember people being surprised when he debuted it, or I guess returned to WWE, and he was using it. You're probably right. I mean, if he owns the song or a version of it, then he probably did. But he does all of his own music, so that would make sense. Grunt said, Forbidden Door was the coolest show I've ever been to, so it's going to be hard to top for All Out to top it, but I have faith and am hyped as hell. Well, I hope you enjoy it, Grunt. Make sure to let me know on your live experience when you get there. And hopefully it's a good show. All Out, honestly, All Out can be a sneaky good show. Last year, I got to go back and look at the card. All Out 2020, I didn't love. I thought that was one of the weaker shows they've ever done. But All Out 2021, best they've ever done. 2019 was a very good show. 2022 was the Punk thing. That was a good show up until the Punk, fucking disaster afterwards. But 2023 was a great one. 2024, I remember the main event. I'd have to go back and look at the card. But, yeah, All Out's typically pretty fun overall, so I think I'll have a great time. Daniel said, assuming nothing big happens the rest of this run, where would you rank Cena's heel turn as far as biggest letdowns in history? You know what? This might be its own video. This might be And Eric, yes, I agree. It's not an easy question to answer as far as the TKO thing. I know we spent a lot of time talking to the chat here, but you guys, there's a lot of activity here, and I always like talking to you guys. We'll get back to it in a second. Where does this rank for John Cena's most disappointing runs and whatnot? Honestly, this might be up there. It is up there. I don't know if it tops it. We got to see how it plays out. The rest of it plays out. This is up there with the invasion. This is one of the biggest letdowns in WWE history because there was so much hype around it, even when it happened in 2025. It should have happened 10 years ago. But even when it happened 3 months ago, almost exactly 3 months ago, there was a lot of optimism. And they almost immediately fucked it up, even with the execution of it to a certain degree. But almost immediately, by not even having on Cena on Raw that Monday, they fucked it up. So legitimately, it might be one of the top 2 biggest letdowns of all time. Maria said, a good question about what Fernando asked. Maria also said, do you think the negative publicity WWE is having right now is a benefit for AEW? Yes, it is. It's the same way with AEW when they were having negative, it's the nature of the business. When WWE creatively was in the fucking shitter back in 2019, it was so bad people were begging for an alternative, which they had in New Japan and Ring of Honor, but not on the level of WWE. And that's what AEW provided. So that really benefited AEW. When WWE got better creatively and Vince left, that also coincided with a lot of the issues that AEW was having on screen, behind the scenes. That morale hit within AEW really benefited WWE. And now the tides are turning kind of slowly but surely again. And a bit more quickly. Like sometimes AEW, the product sucks, that benefits WWE. WWE has the TKO releases, that benefits AEW. So yes, it very much benefits AEW. And especially in terms of talent. I feel like when you release someone like R-Truth, who is a fucking legend within that company, he's been there for so long, that doesn't help morale backstage. Because if that guy's gone, what does that mean about my job security? You know? And some people could say to themselves, when my contract comes due, I'm getting the fuck out of here. This is not a family-run company anymore. It's very corporate. I don't like it here. I don't like seeing my friends get fired. I'm leaving on my own. And that's happened with others in recent years, even while Triple H has been in charge, among TKO as well. The WrestleMania Tag Team Ladder match was a great Miz match. It wasn't, I don't know if I'd call it great. If you're talking last year's match where he won with R-Truth, it was fun, but they've had much better, even tag team ladder matches at Mania, as we know. But Miz has had way better matches than that. Ahmed said, Miz versus Seth, Backlash 2018. After that, nothing I can remember. That match was awesome. That's one of my favorite Miz matches, period. I fucking love that match. Excellent match. I think I mentioned that match in my Backlash video I did about a month ago. Underrated Backlash matches you need to see. I think I put that one in there. But yeah, that was 7 years ago. That was 7 years ago. Wrestling Fan said maybe as a 5th match for Money in the Bank, a 5-way between Profits, Fraxium DIY, Wyatt 6, and Motor City Machine Guns for the tag titles. I'd be cool with that. Sounds like a fucking lazy attempt to kind of get everyone involved in the same match. But at the same time, though, they've all been feuding for a while now. So it's not a bad idea. And it gets the tag titles defended on pay-per-view, which they were not at WrestleMania. So honestly, I don't really mind that idea at all. I think that'd be cool. And the match could be good. Maybe like a gauntlet style thing. I don't know if they're all in there at the same time. That'd be kind of a clusterfuck. But gauntlet, maybe? I don't know. I do like the idea of that, though. Maria said, do you think Sami Zayn is turning heel soon? They're really teasing it, aren't they? I mean, they were teasing it from the day he came back after WrestleMania when he was confronting Jey Uso. I don't think so, though, because Seth got his 4th guy or 3rd guy in Bronson Reed. They don't really need a 4th member. They don't need Rollins. They've been destroying him so much. For Sami to just turn around and be like, you know what, I want to join you guys, to me is just stupid. Sami should win the world title. Maybe they turn him heel first and then they turn him back babyface, kind of like what they did with Gargano back in 2018, 2019, where the heel turn is short-lived. Maybe. That's possible. I still don't think that he will. I think we still need that Karrion Kross, Sami Zayn proper program and not just him interacting backstage every week. Pseudo said, man, Steph Fakir and El Grande, Chad Gable, if they are the same, there's no proof. I agree. There's no proof. How are they going to pull off the double shift at Money in the Bank weekend? Well, they're not at the same time. And If Vikingo and Gable is headlining Worlds Collide, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match is going to have to be later on at Money in the Bank. Because they're like almost directly right after each other. Worlds Collide's at 3 p.m. Eastern. Money in the Bank's at 7. Worlds Collide's at least going to be 2.5 hours. It has to be. And it's not the same arena. So, yeah, they're going to, I mean, if Gable's the same person as Americano, but we know Steph's on both shows. They'll probably have the women's match towards the beginning of Worlds Collide, and then she'll head on over to Money in the Bank. But to even do 2 shows in the same day, it's stupid. It's a lot to ask of fans, and it's a lot to ask of your audience. I don't like that. Even doing them the same weekend, I don't like, but especially doing them the same day, I think that's excessive. Maria said, do you think Sami Zayn is turning heel soon? Oh, sorry, I already answered that question. I don't think I already mentioned that from Eric. First of all, Eric, thanks for joining. As far as that's not an easy question, the whole TKO thing. We'll get to it. Like I said, we've spent a lot of time on the chat, or I've spent a lot of time on the chat. We will get to these scheduled questions here in a moment. And we have a lot of scheduled questions. So I'll get to those momentarily and then get back to the chat before we finish out here. Let's see. Alexis with the $2 super chat. There she is. Richie was asking earlier where Alexis is. There she is. Thanks for the $2 super chat. She said, first full day being 30. Indeed. I have finally entered, the 30 club. Fernando said, raising his hand, I have a low Q, LOL, IQ. Brother, I have a low IQ as well. I may have a high IQ as far as wrestling goes, but in general, can't say I'm a genius in the general sense. Eric said, what do you think Jamie Hayter does for All In? Brother, I have no idea. It should have been facing Tony, but they went with Mercedes instead, which I'll talk about. Someone asked a question about it. I don't know. I don't know what she does. They're not in England, so honestly, she may not even be on the card, but I could see them doing like a women's eliminator match, like a gauntlet women, like the fucking Casino Battle Royale or whatever, the Casino All In, whatever it is. They could do another one of those with the women, and maybe that's how she makes the card. Otherwise, I honestly have no idea. Is the John Cena heel turn worse than him burying Nexus? Yes, it is. It is. The Nexus thing is bad, but like the expectations for Nexus were not what the fabled John Cena heel turn was. And this is like a full year-long thing. With the Nexus, I mean, there were a lot of guys in that group that were not going to get above a certain level. That was bad. This is worse. Might be a hot take. Do I think Miz leaves too? I don't, but it's not impossible. We talked about that before, Eric. He also said, let's be honest, Miz isn't a legend because he puts on amazing matches. It's because he's a phenomenal promo. Correct. I agree. But I don't know if I said this, but I said, you can't really name me the last amazing match that he had. What was the last amazing storyline that he had? When was the last amazing Miz promo that we heard? Far and few between. At least R-Truth was very entertaining. Miz, the way that he's been booked and the way that they've been kind of coasting with him for years now, has not been overly entertaining in a very, very long time. He had a great promo with Gunther a few years ago, but that was one, and that was like a year and a half ago. Let's see. Fernando said, do you think Jericho, Moxley, and Adam Copeland will go back to WWE to have farewell matches before retiring for good? I mean, honestly, they're so much older now. Copeland and Jericho. Moxley, I could say, down the road. Jericho, at this point, I think he could come back for a one-off. To have a full-on run, the man is 50-something. I mean, we need to move on from Chris Jericho. I love Jericho, but we need to move on. Adam Copeland, I'm going to say no. Because honestly, he already had his one last match on SmackDown last year in 2023, and it was awesome. It was a great match. I think he might just retire from AEW when he's done there in the next year or two, and then just ride off into the sunset. Let's see. Oh, that's another thing. Grunt said he was going to All Out. I just remembered that since that's in Canada, I feel like that might be where we get Copeland and Christian. Someone mentioned this recently, but they could either win the tag titles on that show or reunite on that show. I thought it might be at All In, but All In's in like a month, and we've had no sign that Cope and Christian are reuniting anytime soon. So it could be in Canada. That would make sense. Ahmed said, Booker T. Yeah, man. When Pat does it, it's just not the same. I mean, when Booker does it, it's just fucking annoying. When Booker doing it is weird alone. I hate when Pat doing it last night. I like Pat. I'm like, just stop. You're right. It's not the same thing. It's just stupid anyway, but it's bad. Johnny said, TKO might have WWE do 3 shows in one day soon. Wouldn't put it past them. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 at night. Wouldn't shock me, honestly. Wrestling fan said, Graham, have you seen Elena Black, formerly known Cora Jade's interview with Ariel Helwani yesterday? If so, what were your thoughts? I thought it was a really good interview. I saw the highlights that Ariel posted on Twitter. She came across well. I thought she came across very well. And, she took the standard approach of not wanting to bury her former employer. She didn't really elaborate on the thing. It was a very good interview. She didn't really, and Ariel asked the right questions. The weird, not really weird thing, but again, I get it because she wants to work there again down the road. But she made those comments about, being body shamed, which is terrible that even happened, obviously. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. But then, the thing is, with people that get released from WWE or leave WWE or have left in recent years, in the past, anyone that left WWE would immediately blame Vince. The guy was psycho, he had no idea what he was doing, his creative sucked, blah, blah, blah. Almost everyone that has left WWE or has gotten fired in the last 3 years has said, oh, yeah, no, I love Triple H, I love Shawn, nothing to do with them. Bro, they're making the decisions. I mean, you can blame maybe there's other people behind the scenes that were meaner to you or were more instrumental in your release. But it's not like Triple H and Shawn are sitting there saying, oh man, we really got to keep Cora Jade, and Nick Khan's like, no, get rid of her. No, Triple H is signing off on this shit. I mean, with R-Truth, people know it's a Triple H move. It's a TKO move because they want to, make the bottom line look sexier, and they want to get rid of the older people and people they have no use for. But Triple H is signing off on this stuff. It's the same thing like with Vince back in the day. Triple H has been booking these people. If you have an issue with the booking or of Cora Jade's booking, that falls on Shawn Michaels. I mean, the fans get it, but the talent, I mean, again, they're not going to put Triple H and Shawn on blast. I'm not saying fucking bury them, but they're the ones that are booking you. If you were really that big of a star in their eyes, you would still be there. That just doesn't make sense to me. She said, nothing against Triple H and Shawn. I thought they were great. Well, Cora, Elena, they were the ones booking you. So, I mean, you must have some sort of an issue because if you're not happy with your release, they were the ones that made that decision. It wasn't this random coach that you didn't have a good relationship with. I'm sure that was a factor, but it's these other people that are booking you. It just doesn't make sense to me. But otherwise, I thought the interview was good. She said like a million fucking times. Literally almost every other word now that you hear me saying it, you're going to look for it when you watch the interview. She goes, my run was not that great, bad, just really annoying, you know what I mean? Just really long. It was like that. She said so many times. I'm like, oh my God, fucking stop. I know she's a 25-year-old girl, so again, I get it. But now that you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. I'm burying her. I like Cora Jade. I think she'll do well outside of WWE. The fact that she's booking her own spots and she's all over the place, I think she's going to do really well for herself. She did the OnlyFans thing. Hey, listen, anyone can blame her for that. She talked about it on the interview too. People will shit on her for that, and some people are just sexist and misogynistic and shit. But the thing is, if there's people out there, don't blame the talents for doing, the women, even men or whatever, but it's obviously usually women. I wouldn't blame the women for doing that sort of shit. If you have an issue with it, blame the people that are paying for it. She knows she can make fucking bank off of it. So why wouldn't she do it? You know what I'm saying? It's smart. Mandy Rose, same thing. I mean, she said some dumb shit, but I'm not really talking about that. She has said stupid stuff in recent years. But the OnlyFans stuff, people, she's just going to coast off of that. Brother, there's people, we talk about the gooners and stuff. Someone mentioned it in the chat just a couple minutes ago. Yeah, Booker T being a gooner is funny. I think Daniel said, yeah, Booker T getting paid to be a gooner is wild, LOL. I agree. 90%, especially of male wrestling fans, are fucking gooners. They will pay for this shit. They will, like Cora and other people have said, they will make fun of these women for having these OnlyFans, blah, blah, blah. They're just going to, show off their bodies. But then fucking pay for it. You know what I'm saying? It's very similar to the WWE TKO stuff. man, I can't believe they're charging $40,000, and then they'll pay for it. I mean, it's stupid to me. Anyway, let's see. Grunt said, yeah, I was referring to Damian wanting to go after the U.S. title. This needs to happen more often in both companies. I agree. Makes those titles more prestigious. Thank you, Grunt, saying that he hopes that we have a blast at Disney this weekend. I appreciate that, Grunt. Eric said, my recent favorite feud with Miz was with Maurice versus Edge and Beth. Yeah, that was fine. You know, it was a fine intergender feud. Decent for what it was. No complaints. Maria said, favorite birthday memory? Good question. The party Alexis held for me the other day. I don't know if it's number one, but it's certainly up there. It might be number one. We saw Across the Spider-Verse 2 years ago. That was fun. Last year we went to a theme park. I went to Ring of Honor on my birthday. A lot of great birthday memories. So those would be the ones that rank up there pretty high up. So the other day, last year, 2 years ago, 2018, when I went to Ring of Honor on my birthday, I guess any of those would come to mind. Not the Shield breaking up, I'll tell you that much. The Shield broke up on my birthday. I was devastated. What a terrible way to end that day. Eric said, I love the John Wick pillow in the background. Where's the, let me see. John, that, it's AJ Styles. That's funny that you think that it's John Wick. It looks like John Wick. It's the other birthday boy. It's AJ Styles. His birthday was also yesterday. I'm so blessed to share a birthday with one of my other favorite wrestlers. Is that P1 or that's AJ? Looks like, we'll go with John Wick. We'll say it's John Wick. It's an AJ Styles WWE blanket that I've had for many years now. But we'll say it's, like I said, we'll say it's John Wick. And I love John Wick. John Wick's great. Eric said, do you think WWE gets sold to Saudi in a couple of years? I don't think so, but, anything can happen, I guess. Pseudo said, was watching classic WWE. Now that we have the Netflix library available here, 1996 King of the Ring was good, obviously due to Stone Cold's moment, but Owen Hart, man, was good as a heel commentator. Yeah, that is a good show. Wasn't that the same show that had Shawn Michaels and Bulldog for the WWE title? I think they also did Shawn and, maybe it was Shawn and no, Shawn and Stone Cold was at King of the Ring 97, I want to say. Yeah, King of the Ring 96 was good. There were way worse King of the Ring shows, but 96 I think was a good one. And Owen Hart was pretty much good at everything he did. Daniel said, I can't stand when folks say like a gazillion times in the midst of speaking. I mean, maybe I do it. I mean, I'm sure I have my own tics and stuff. Everyone has their own things. But I remember that was acknowledged when I was in journalism class. I don't know if I was doing it previously anyway. But when I had a journalism class in high school, my teacher, I don't know if she said, oh yeah, I'm going to take points off, or I'm going to deduct you, or you have to do this if you keep doing it. It wasn't to me, it was to the entire class. She would always point out because she was a journalism teacher, so it annoyed her. When someone would say like today's like Tuesday, like such a good like day, whenever someone would say like after almost every other fucking word, she would bring it up, and it made me so conscious of that, I don't think I ever did it again. Because it's such a cop thing, it's such a cop-out thing, so I understand. Grunt said, I have no issues with the wrestlers doing stuff like OnlyFans, male or female, get that bag. Hey, listen, if there's someone willing to pay for it and you're not hurting anyone and you don't give a fuck, God bless. Who gives a shit, you know what I mean? It's not money out of my pocket. I'm not paying for it, so why do I fucking care? Fernando said, I know it was a long time ago, but let's remember it was Triple H who put the idea in Vince McMahon's head to screw Bret Hart at Survivor Series. He has a ruthless side. Exactly. I mean, it's not like Triple H has been a saint for the last 25 years. I'm not saying Triple H is a bad guy, but especially earlier on in his career, he was fucking power hungry. He was a politician. Few more than Triple H during that period. And Fernando also said, are you watching Ballerina when you come back from Orlando, Florida? No, because we might see it while we're in Orlando, Florida. And Alexis will make fun of me. She has made fun of me for this because it's fucking funny. But I discovered that if you signed up, a cheap plug for it, a cheap plug, fucking cheap trick, whatever you want to call it, shortcut. If you sign up for an AMC Stubs membership, a free one, their free membership, you get a free large popcorn refill. But during your birthday month, you get a free large popcorn, period. And I also got $5 towards whatever I want to use it for at AMC through like the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think because it's my birthday month, I'm not sure. But all of that to say, I don't really go to AMC often at all. We're not near one. We don't really go to AMC. There's other theaters I just go to for $5 on Tuesdays instead. And I say a lot. So I mean, I shit on the whole like thing, but I say quite a bit. But anyway, I noticed there's an AMC at Disney Springs. There's an AMC there at Disney Springs, right downtown, and I'm like, you know what? I should use my free birthday popcorn, the free birthday popcorn refill, and the $5 while we're there. And Ballerina, guess what? Comes out on Friday. So we might go see Ballerina on Friday at Disney Springs because we're not going to the park until Saturday. So it just makes sense. So there you go. Pseudo said, yep, Shawn and Bulldog, a great match, only for Owen to interfere and hit Shawn with his cast arm. But Stone Cold versus Mark Miro is much better than the final Stone Cold versus Jake the Snake. Yeah, Stone Cold and Jake the Snake fucking sucked. I mean, Jake the Snake was past his prime at that point. You're definitely right about that. And the promo itself overshadows the entire tournament alone. And then Daniel said, speaking of Triple H's role in the screw job, do you think that it's a big reason why Brett has frequently spoken down on Hunter over the years? While he's forgiven Shawn. Yeah, probably. I think he probably didn't like Triple H to begin with, to be honest with you, even prior to the screw job. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that honestly the screw job has a lot to do with it. And not that he hates Triple H, because I think he's interacted with him a few times since then, and he respects him. But he's also called his booking garbage at times. He called his match with Taker at Mania 28 to Taker, who he really respects. He said that end of an era match was 4 out of 10. He thought it was trash. And that's an excellent match. But he really does not like Triple H. Even today, I don't think. Maybe less so. Maria said, hey, nothing wrong with free popcorn, butter, or seasoning. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Or nothing wrong with free popcorn, butter, or seasoning. I'm a butter guy. I think that is a thing. People like the seasoning. I remember that was a thing even more so years ago. I don't really hear about that now. Definitely a butter person, not a seasoning guy. I don't know if I'd hate it if it was seasoned, but I'm much more of a salt and butter person. Obviously not too much. We're not trying to fucking kill ourselves here, but just enough to where it makes sense. All right. After all this time, we are an hour and 40 minutes in. This is incredible. You guys have been so great in the chat. We are not ending. I have to get to the scheduled questions. I should have gone to them earlier, and I consistently have this problem where I get carried away in the chat because you guys are great. But I will go to the questions here in a moment after Pseudo's comment here. He said, I'll watch 96 SummerSlam next. Excited for Taker versus Mankind Boiler Room Brawl. Hey, better than Taker versus Giant Gonzalez from SummerSlam 93. That match was fucking awful. All right. Here are the scheduled questions. I'll go back to the chat intermittently, if that's how you say the word. Shout out to Average Grunt. He sent these in on YouTube, but because he's a channel member, even if he sent them in on Twitter, channel members get their questions answered first when I get to the scheduled questions. His first question was from YouTube. Should WWE have done the Wyatt family versus The Shield for the first time at WrestleMania 30 instead of Bray Wyatt versus John Cena and The Shield versus Kane and the New Age Outlaws, respectively? If so, who would you have had John Cena face instead? That's a great question. My card for Mania 30, at least as far as those guys go, would have been John Cena versus The Undertaker. I would have done it at Mania 30. If you have Cena break the streak, then Cena turns heel. But if he's not going to break the streak, which I would not have done, then Taker wins, obviously. But I would have done Cena Taker, Shield Wyatt family, like you said, which they did at Elimination Chamber, and it was amazing. But you could wait until Mania to do it. And then if that's going on, then what do you do? I was going to say Bryan would have had to have won the Rumble. I mean, I know Batista, let me see. What did I say? Taker, Cena? Who would Brock have faced? You could have done Brock and Batista, and then Orton and Bryan, or get the belt off of Orton and give it to Triple H and do Bryan and Triple H for the title, or Triple H, Bryan, and Orton in a triple threat. I don't know. I feel like that would have worked. Because I'm trying to think, what do you do with Brock? Brock's kind of like the hang-up. Or you do Brock, Orton. I don't know if you put Bryan in there in a four-way. I don't know. Bryan really should have gone for the title on that show. but I don't know who he faces, so I'm kind of having a hang up there. But definitely Cena Taker, Wyatt Family Shield, Brock Batista, Orton in a triple threat would have been cool. I just don't know what you do with Daniel Bryan because he was so popular at that point. He would have had to have won the Rumble. But to face Orton, I don't know about that. We already saw that a bunch. Grunt's next question. Does failing to win the title after winning a gauntlet/tournament like the Royal Rumble or the G1 Climax diminish the winning of said gauntlet/tournament, or can it be viewed as its own separate accomplishment? If the former, world tournaments like the C2 better not be or not better be off without a title shot as a prize as to not hinge the prestige and importance of the win on whether they go on to win the title afterwards or not. That's a good question. Good question, but no. Because if you have these tournaments be for nothing, then I feel like people think of them as a waste of time. Like King of the Ring for a long time wasn't for a title shot. Then it's kind of like, okay, they didn't get a title shot, but they would still be booked terribly. So does it really even mean anything to win King of the Ring? King of the Ring, if AEW wants their own King of the Ring, where they don't go on a challenge for world championships, they did last year. But in the past, the King of the Ring had largely meant nothing, as a lot of the winners amounted to nothing. I think in theory, you really should be elevated to a world title shot. But the Royal Rumble, there's been a lot of people that won the Rumble that did not win the belt at Mania. But the Rumble itself would still be exciting, wouldn't lose prestige. So I disagree. The G1 Climax, I mean, I think the G1 Climax is a great concept. I honestly couldn't tell you the amount of people that won it that did or did not win the title in Wrestle Kingdom. I don't really keep track of that. And it doesn't make the G1 Climax any less exciting. You know, the Continental Classic, you need a world title or something like that on the line. I mean, the Continental Championship even being on the line, who gives a shit? I mean, it's a fucking lower mid-card belt. To me, that a tournament like that needs a shot at a world championship on the line. Owen Hart Cup, same thing. You get title shots at All In now after winning it, which is great. I think that's awesome, and I think they should be continuing to do that. But it's not like it means any less because the Owen Hart Cup winners don't win it All In. You know, if they don't, then it's fine. The Owen Hart Cup is still prestigious. Now, if you have someone win these tournaments, a Rumble or a Gauntlet, whatever, and then for years on end, they never win shit, they never win when it matters most when the title's on the line, that's a problem. But if it's like 50-50 or around there, then to me, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Micah Does It from YouTube said, have you noticed John Cena has been the cover for every WWE pay-per-view? Why is that? Because he was the face of the company. He was the face of the company for so long, so therefore he's been the face of many Mania posters, Rumble posters, Backlash, Judgment Day, Armageddon, Survivor Series, list goes on and on. Just makes sense. You put your franchise player on your pay-per-view posters. It just makes sense. And some of those posters were sick. They don't really have cool pay-per-view posters anymore. They kind of got lazy with them. He also asked, do you have any upcoming scheduled interviews with any WWE superstars for over the summer? I'd like to see you do an interview with Trick Williams or CM Punk. I have talked to both in the past. Both interviews are available here on the channel. Scheduled currently, not at the moment. A lot of stuff is very like, hey, do you want to talk to this person tomorrow? Sure, like that sort of thing. It's very last minute. It's very like, it's not like, oh, I'm talking to this person on the 21st. It's very last minute. I talked to Undertaker. I found out about Undertaker a month or two ago or a few months ago, the day fucking before. So I have nothing scheduled at the moment. Maybe as we get closer to SummerSlam, certainly at SummerSlam, if I go this year, you're going to get more interviews and clips and stuff like that. Trick Williams is way more likely than Punk. Punk doesn't really do a lot of interviews, but I maybe might be able to talk to Punk if he's at the fucking post-show press conference if I'm there. That's a possibility. Trick Williams is great. I've talked to him a few different times. Really nice guy. Check out my interviews with both individuals from here on the channel in years past. They're both awesome. Jordan B said, from YouTube, do you think B-Fab might have the potential to be at least a top mid-carder? She has a good presence around her. She has also cut really good promos on her social media page. Hopefully, if she keeps improving in the ring, I see the potential in B-Fab being at least a top mid-carder. I'm going to say no, because she has improved. Her promos aren't bad. But with B-Fab, there are so many more women. I would say maybe 85% of the women's division on Raw, on SmackDown, even in NXT, that have a higher ceiling than she does. So, like, for example, Chelsea Green, I think, has way more value to them than B-Fab does. She's better in the ring, way more entertaining, better on the mic. Even someone like Jordan Grace, who belongs in the main women's title picture, but because that picture is so fucking clouded, she'll have to go to the upper mid-card. I would take Jordan Grace or a Roxanne Perez over BFAB. And the thing with BFAB is, it's not like she's brand new to the business. She's been under contract to this company for at least 4 or 5 years. I know she got fired and brought back. But even then, they brought her back in 2022. They've had her wrestle more recently. She's not out there having banger matches. She's had fine matches, but she's not having great matches. There's a lot more women that are better than she is. Even Meechin. I think Meechin deserves a lot more opportunities, in my opinion, than even BFAB. I think Meechin is better in the ring, better fiery promos. BFAB's decent, not the shit on her. She's better than she was, but she's also had a lot of stinkers too. And her development's gonna take a lot longer. It's not really worth it. I feel like she might make more progress if she's, let's see. Oh, Alexis just texted me. She might make more progress if she goes to a TNA, which I know works with WWE, or a different, promotion, because she's not getting enough reps. But it's not like, if she gets more reps, she'll be a star. I've never really seen that in BFAB. Even in Hit Row, I just thought she was better as a manager, even back then. So I'm going to disagree with that, but they clearly see enough in her to where they brought her back, and she's the only one left standing on the main roster. She got the Carmella treatment. Swerve got fired, went to AEW, so he couldn't be brought back. Top Dollar got brought back, got fired. Ashanti the Adonis got brought back, put in NXT. She should be probably back in NXT. But no, she's still on SmackDown. She's still doing her thing. Who is your favorite Raw celebrity guest host from 2009-2010? Bob Barker. Not a bold opinion, but Bob Barker's time hosting Raw with the whole Price is Raw thing. I still watch that segment. It's still fucking entertaining. Rip Bob Barker. The other one is Hugh Jackman, but that was 2011, so I guess that doesn't count. All the other celebrity hosts, there were a lot of bad ones. The guys from Entourage, Ken Jeong, I believe his name is. He was funny, but like the guy that mispronounced SummerSlam as Super Slam or Summerfest, Jeremy Piven, that was embarrassing. A lot of hosts were bad. Donald Trump, our fucking president, that was the whole reason why we could blame him for, among other things. But yeah, he was the one that started the whole Raw celebrity guest host thing. Dusty did it, Ted DiBiase, Bret Hart, that was probably one of the better ones because that got him back in the company. But yeah, my favorite, far and away, Bob Barker. There might be other ones, but him and Hugh Jackman, but definitely number one is Bob Barker. And the Muppets. The Muppets were great, but that was also 2011. Christopher L. It's certainly not Al Sharpton. The Reverend Al Sharpton. Easily the fucking worst. He was terrible. Christopher L. from Facebook said, hello and happy birthday to you, Graham. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Hope you had a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. Hope you sent my birthday love for Alexis a couple of weeks back. She's always a warm presence, whether she's whenever she's with you on screen. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate you saying that. I did tell her, so she is aware that you said happy birthday and that you are a fan. He said, now on to my questions. Has TKO done far more to harm WWE than good? With all the evidence piling up on them, the high ticket prices, unpopular releases, the shifts in creative, that is garbage, that I think they have 100% made the product worse than before. What about you? Like I think Eric said in the chat earlier, that it's a loaded question because it is. I'm going to disagree. The ticket prices, I'm not saying TKO is amazing because they have made a lot of questionable choices. The ticket prices are higher, but the product is also better. You cannot debate with me that the product is worse now than it was before TKO in 2020, 2021. Now, there is something to be said about Triple H running the company, maybe with Nick Khan, probably with Nick Khan, before TKO bought it. When Triple H took over, before TKO bought it, that was an excellent time, where it was still WWE, but it was post-Vince. That was prime, creative for WWE. There's been a lot of great moments since then, but and it wasn't like a money-hungry thing. They also didn't really release anyone during that period. They brought a lot of people back. They barely released anyone from 2022 to early 2023. It wasn't until after the TKO merger went into effect that they fired a lot of people, a lot of employees, a lot of talent. That's when it really started to change, and it became much more of a money type thing. Ticket prices are higher because the product is better. Is it good enough to warrant these ticket prices? Probably not. No, that I would agree with. But the ticket prices were low 5 years ago because the product was fucking terrible. So, we'll throw that out there. The shifts in creative, I mean, largely the creative is better. I enjoy a lot of the shows much more now than I did before TKO took over. But again, Triple H, when he was in charge before TKO, I was enjoying it then. But I'll take what we have now over what we had 5 years ago. I cannot emphasize that enough. I would much rather have Triple H and TKO in charge than Vince McMahon. Maybe not in certain effects as far as like the lack of loyalty and stuff like that, but even Vince wasn't always the most loyal individual. He was also a big piece of shit, a lying piece of shit, and just a piece of shit in general. I mean, let's not get that twisted. But unpopular releases, again, they were doing that before TKO. And even before, like, I know they were doing a lot of unpopular releases during COVID, but they were doing that to prime themselves for a sale. I mean, that was evident even in 2020. Overall, I mean, again, not a popular answer, I don't think, because it's easy and it's cool to shit on TKO now, and a lot of justified reasons. But I still think they've been the best thing to happen to WWE financially, creatively. The buzz around the product is the best it's been in decades. It's been an overall benefit. Now, can we say that in a year or two or 5 years from now if the product goes back downhill, the creative sucks, they're releasing a lot more people, it's much more fucking corporate and money hungry? We can revisit that. But in 2025, on June 3rd, 2025, the company has been better off, even as a fan, not only from a business standpoint, but I don't think you can argue it's been worse off with them making way more money. Packed buildings, international crowds. They've hired a lot of people that Vince would not have hired. They would have never fucking hired Penta or JC Mateo or Stephanie, Julia. Vince would have said absolutely not. So I'll still take what we got now over what we had 5 years ago. We can criticize the product now, but it's not always about like, oh, Vince good, Triple H bad. Like, everyone has their pros and cons. I feel like that's safe to say. His second question: do you think the shift from New Orleans to Vegas was a very shameful, greedy thing to do for the WWE? And how do you feel about it when it was first announced? Yeah, that was shitty. Shitty just in the sense that they announced New Orleans, made a whole big deal about it. Well, fuck The Rock. Who gives a shit about The Rock at this point? Because he was made to look like a fool for out there to announce it, and then they kind of embarrassed him by switching it back to Vegas. It's a very greedy thing. They saw how much money they made in Vegas, and they're going back to Vegas. I think it has its benefits to run shows in Vegas, given how everything is closer together and it just works better as a home base. But to go there the exact next year, to me, is just laziness. That's laziness to me. Maybe even next year, people would complain. But to do it 2 years in a row, I don't like that. Personally, I love it because I like going to Vegas for wrestling shows. But from a business standpoint, especially announce New Orleans and then go backtrack on it and be like, yeah, actually, never mind, that's embarrassing. And it's a very greedy move indeed. They should have thought about that before they fucking announced New Orleans. Next question of his thoughts in this weekend's tweet with Ric Flair's response to Jim Ross is, why is Flair such a despicable child? Yeah, he's a fucking asshole. He was like, oh yeah, Jim Ross is craving all this attention. He's just fucking weird. Ric Flair is just a loser. He is a sad old man. And I feel bad because he has really tarnished his legacy. Not just for like the plane ride from hell stuff, but I'm talking just being a piece of shit in general. He's a legend, but he's also a very sad old man that just can't. He literally doesn't even have to do anything, and you'll be better off than some of the dumb shit he says. Why doesn't he have someone taking care of the shit for him? Why doesn't he have like a media manager that approves or denies certain things that he says online? It only hurts his reputation and his brand even more to say the dumb shit that he does. He's just an idiot. I did see that. He's a moron. I don't know why he said that. And then he backtracked and was like, oh, it was just a joke, guys. LOL. Or I got hacked, pal. Oh, yeah, we've heard that a bunch. Stop. It's a sad old man. Anyway, next question of Christopher's. Do you agree with WWE's constant fast-tracking and hot-shotting of certain stars to the top? Me personally, I prefer a slow/medium build and attempt to get a certain star over with the fan base and then reward them when the time is right. Yes, lots of people have been pushed to the moon fast. Lesnar, Orton, The Shield, Charlotte, etc. But I always think they need to build a connection with the audience first before the push can be definite. Do you agree that WWE does too much hot-shotting/fast-tracking these days? And should they not push someone out of the gate, but instead build them up instead of putting the rocket on their back? I disagree. I don't think they do even enough of that. I feel like they should do that with other people. Like they kind of fast-tracked LA Knight, and then he didn't win the world title, and then he went right back down to the mid-card way longer than he should be. He should be in the main event now. I mean, who have they really fast-tracked? Braun Breaker wasn't a world champion out of the gate. He was a mid-card guy, and his push has been perfect. Carmelo Hayes, they did not fast-track him. I mean, they've taken their time with him, and they really haven't done fucking jack shit with Carmelo Hayes. Who are we talking about? Like Julia, Roxanne, Steph? I mean, they're not like the main women's champion yet. And even if they were, who gives a shit? They're great. You know? I think AEW hotshots people more than WWE does. I mean, if you can give me some concrete examples, then maybe I'll agree with you. But like, who are we talking about in recent years? You know, even Roman and Seth and Dean took 3 years for them all to win their first world titles. And they all kind of came up in the mid-card and the tag team. They were in main events, but they were fucking great. And WWE needed someone like them at that point. But, like, who are we talking about? Because, like, the last world champions, Jey Uso won his first world title after 15 years. You know, Cody Rhodes took him 2-3 years to win the world title. 15 if you include his previous tenure with the company. Yeah, I don't think they do it enough. In AEW, they brought in Megan Bayne. She went for the world women's title and lost, and then really hasn't been at that same level since. So, I mean, I think AEW does it more than WWE does. Your next question, I was shocked when I found out Stephanie Vaquer lost her title last week, but when I found out that she lost it to JC Jane, I thought about it and decided that I was 50-50 on it. On one hand, JC's been there for 4 years and has worked hard and is a loyal employee. So I can see this as a reward for her hard work towards the brand, which is exactly what it is, by the way. She has personality and is a good antagonist, and therein lies the problem. I am not at all sold in her believing Sean is going to build a division around her when he has other women who are better and more over than her. JC works better as an obnoxious snob who antagonizes the babyface champion than as someone who is the actual champion. Do you think creative is a long-term plan for JC as champ? Long-term plan for JC as champ? Who do you see her feuding with, and who should take the belt off of her? I think it's going to be a transitional run. I think JC's fine. She's improved, honestly, in a way, maybe regressed in certain ways. I just do not see JC as a singles women's champion. Maybe the mid-card level, but like the main women's champion on any brand, including NXT. And they have other women in NXT that are better than she is. Jada Parker is young, but I would take her in that spot over fucking JC Jane. Sol Rook is busy, Zarya is busy, but there's a lot of women on that show that you could have put in that spot before her. I think it might go to Mariah May, and I think that might be imminent. I think Mariah May should be in NXT, and I think she should be the one to take that title off of JC, if not someone else. If it was someone else, then why not have them beat Jordan? Why JC? Even Fallon Henley is better than JC. Thankfully, it wasn't Jasmine Nix. That would have been dumb. She's definitely not ready for that. But JC, it's definitely a reward for her. Like, oh yeah, you've been here forever. But it's like, who cares? Does anyone at this point honestly care about JC Jane? Like, I don't. I don't know. I thought that was a stupid move. I would have rather seen Stephanie lose it to almost anyone else. So I think it's going to be a short run. She might feud with a quick babyface and then beat them. But ultimately, I think it's going to go to Mariah May when she comes in imminently, and I think it's going to go to her quickly. Thoughts on TKO and WWE counter-programming AEW with 2 PLEs during the weekend of All In Texas, and the BS defense that, well, AEW said we're a competition, so now they're getting it. On one side, I think it's sad and petty, but I also see it as a way to motivate everyone in both companies. I think you can motivate everyone in both companies without doing dumb shit like that. I think it's fucking stupid. I mean, WWE does it at this point way more than AEW does. Tony Khan has said some dumb shit, but WWE takes, like, the slimy way of not talking shit about AEW publicly, but they'll try to, like, undermine them with shit like this by doing their shows back-to-back with NXT, which only makes NXT look bad, when the AEW show that's going on opposite of it is 10 times better. And Battleground was good, but Double or Nothing was definitely better for sure. So, I don't know. I think it's stupid when they try to run the ECW arena before AEW runs it. Like, what's the fucking point of that? You know what I mean? I know it's like, and people will say, oh, that's how the Attitude Era was with WWE and WCW. It's petty nonsense. You can be competitive without just being slimy. Like, we could actually have the companies working together on some stuff if they didn't do dumb shit like this. It's funny that they don't think AEW is competition because realistically, they'll never top WWE. But yet they try to undermine them with shit like this. Like, if they're not competition, then you wouldn't do shit like that. WWE now works with TNA, but they weren't really doing that to TNA before because they didn't see them as a threat towards the end before they started working with them. But they're doing it now because they're doing it to AEW now because they still see them as a threat. Regardless of what they say, they absolutely see them as a threat. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing shit like that. When she hangs up her boots, what do you think the legacy is of Alexa Bliss? He asked. Ultimate overachiever. And honestly, as someone, not to say she's bad, because Alexa Bliss really came into her own, but she was not a top prospect in NXT. Alexa Bliss had a good run in NXT, but she was there for years, and she was largely just like a middle-of-the-card type star. Never held the main women's title. Challenged a time or two, but she was a glorified manager. She was a manager for Buddy Murphy and, what's the other guy's name? Wesley Blake? I don't even think they had a team name, but, she was a 10 times bigger star, and even still today, than they ever were and are in, AEW now with Buddy Murphy. But she went to the main roster, became a staple of that women's division on Raw and SmackDown, won the women's title several times, the tag title several times, and she's still infinitely over, even to this day. So I think overachiever is what Alexa Bliss will be remembered for. Not being the best worker, but a great talker, and someone WWE took a chance on when they called her up from NXT in 2016, and she exceeded all expectations. Immediately found her footing, became a star for them, and was on the level of all the four horsewomen during that 2016 to 2018 period in terms of her booking and how over she was as well, and the merch that she sold over the years as well. No L from Facebook. They were in the chat earlier. Said, what would be your top 5 Money in the Bank moments ever? I have no idea. I mean, are we talking cash-ins? Are we talking the pay-per-view? Or are we talking the match? If we're talking the pay-per-view, let's go with the pay-per-view. Punk and Cena from 2011. AJ Cena from 2016 was great. Ambrose's cash-in that same night was amazing. John Cena returning to confront Roman Reigns in 2011 or 2021 was awesome. That was the first show back with fans full time. That was really cool. A lot of the cash-ins they've done on the show with Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Liv Morgan, all fun cash-ins on the same night. Kane's cash-in at 2011 Money in the Bank or 2010 Money in the Bank. A lot of good moments at the pay-per-view itself. Paul Heyman turning on CM Punk in 2013 was a great moment. I'm trying to think of what else. 2017, 2018, 2019. The headquarters match in 2020 was fun. Mentioned 2021. 2022 had a great Profits and Usos match. 2023, the Bloodline Civil War was a great match. Last year's show was good. Yeah, I'm just talking the pay-per-view. The match itself, I have no idea. There's been so many great Money in the Bank matches and moments. It's hard to say. But when Jeff Hardy did whatever the fuck it was through a ladder to Edge at the WrestleMania 23 Money in the Bank ladder match, that was awesome. Do you think it was a good idea for Stephanie Vaquer to lose the NXT Women's Title Championship, the NXT Women's Championship to JC Jane? I mentioned that before, but no. Did not like that. Did not like that it was JC. I know she's got to drop the belt, but should not have been JC. At Iwagu91, happy birthday. Thank you, at Iwagu. I appreciate that. Your thoughts on Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace joining the main roster? Big fan. Jordan, I would have kept down there a little longer. I know I said at the beginning of the year, call her up immediately, but that was before they called up Julia, Roxanne, and Stephanie all at once. Hopefully they have a plan for her on SmackDown if she's coming up imminently, and they can, fill the void they left behind in NXT. But, yeah, I think they're going to be great gets, specifically Stephanie, much higher ceiling. She's a fucking star. Stephanie's already one of my top favorite women's wrestlers in WWE history. I fucking love Stephanie. She is awesome. She's such a star. Do you see Julia winning the Women's U.S. Championship from Zelina Vega, he asked. I do. I do think Julia wins the NXT Women's title. The Women's United States Championship, I'm sorry. Because Julia already pinned her. They teased it last week. I do think Julia takes that title, and on the Sooner side as well. Their last question and Millennial Noob's last question. I'm going to pair these together because it's funny how they kind of contradict each other. Iwagu said, as of now, is AEW's women's division finally getting great? Noob's question was, is the AEW women's division in a major decline because we're getting Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné for the AEW women's title at All In Texas? So they're asking, is it getting great or is it getting bad? I think it's in the middle. I don't like that Mercedes Moné won the Owen Hart Cup. I think it's a lose-lose to do Storm and Moné at All In. It really should have been Jamie Hayter, and I would have rather seen Monet and Athena at All In instead. I don't like that. But the division has a lot of great women. They're getting more exposure, better storylines. Toni Storm is a star. They're losing Mariah May, but they brought in a lot of great talent. They have a lot of great talent you don't even really see on the show as it is. So I don't know if it's finally getting great. It's been great, and I don't think it's on the decline either. If Mercedes has both belts and doesn't really defend the TBS championship, then we can have a conversation. That is garbage. But for now, they had a lot of great women's wrestling in that tournament. So I'm going to say it's been great. It's not on the decline, and it's not getting great, but it has been great, and I say it, or rather, I see it staying great for the foreseeable future with the women they have, and will probably continue to bring in the future. All right. That is all the questions. That is all the questions. Thank you, Angel, for saying I'm a handsome guy. I appreciate that. Looking at the chat real quick before we head on out of here. I got to get going here in a moment. Does anyone remember when why Bryan got added to the Edge Roman feud at Mania 37? Why did he get added? I'm not really sure. I think just Bryan was just super popular at that point, and they didn't really have anything else for him to do at Mania, so they put him in the match. I think that's probably why. Would you take Liv above B-Fab? I mean, yes, of course. Liv is 10 times better than B-Fab, but that's not even a question. Maria said, who are your Money in the Bank winner picks? I'll talk about it on Thursday. We're going to have a podcast on Thursday doing predictions, so we'll talk about it there. Suda said, I really like B-Fab, but you're right. I also think her persona and style suits as a heel character. I agree. Maybe as a sassy heel character, but can elevate her stonks. Stocks? Is that what you mean? Stonks? What are stonks? But yes, I agree. Daniel said, Wayne Brady sold the fuck out of that RKO when he was host. I agree. He did sell the fuck out of it. That RKO was awesome. Not a great host, but that was a great sell. Grunt asked, any thoughts on Dynamite's new theme song? You wanted War by Sun or Sum 41. I think it's cool. I like the song. It kind of reminds me of early 2000s. I like the original Dynamite theme song more, but I do think the new one is good. I like the I'm So Excited. I like that, but they did it for 1 week and whatever, I guess. But yeah, the new one's good. I enjoy it. Eric said, I said it last week, I'd take Jasmine before JC. I disagree with that. No thanks. I keep saying I can't remember JC's still employed until she comes out. I mean, she's on the show a fair amount. I have not forgotten that she's on the company. I just don't think she's that great. Grunt said, something I strongly disagree with you on is the idea that all AEW mid-card titles are on the same level of importance. I think the international title is clearly above the TNT and Continental titles. I disagree. I mean, slightly, but not clearly above. The international title has been defended once. What, fucking twice or 3 times in the last couple of months? I love Kenny Omega as champion, but they haven't really done a whole lot with him as champion since he won it. It's kind of like it basically is an afterthought of a run until he loses it, or merges it rather, with Okada's belt at All In. The TNT title at this point is an afterthought. The Continental title is good, but I just don't really care. The international title by default is better, but it's not really defended as much as it should be, in my opinion. You also said, to me, the international title is to the TNT title and Continental titles what the Intercontinental title was to the European and Hardcore titles in the late 90s and early 2000s. Great comparison. I agree with that, but I still think that it's not as important as it should be. But you are right. What has been the best WWE debut since the Chris Jericho debut? Kane in 98. Well, that was actually before that. Jacob Fatu's was great. I don't know if that's the best debut, but Jacob Fatu's was awesome. Kevin Owens in 2015. There's probably been other ones, but those are the top 2 that come to mind. No 24-hour stream today, Richie. Good question. Not today. Maybe another time. Oh my God. Grunt said 24-hour stream going over every 24/7 title change in great detail. I would probably have to, I'm not going to use the K word, but off myself if that was the case. I would, you would never see me again if I even made it the full 24 hours. Ahmed said, my personal predictions for who's winning Money in the Bank briefcase, LA Knight and Naomi. I think those who I think deserve it the most. All right, good predictions. Tune in on Thursday and I'll give you my predictions. Maybe Mercedes goes 2 for All In. I think there's a good chance she takes both belts. If you mean pull double duty, I don't think so, but it's possible. AEW doesn't typically do that. 48 hours and Graham can go in depth about Katie Vick. I would definitely have to fucking off myself at that point, Richie. If I was to do that for 48 hours, I would definitely not make it. I wouldn't even make it 2, let alone 48 hours. Fernando said, do you think both companies with the counter programming each other run the risk of oversaturating wrestling and burning out the fans with too much of it? Yes. Shows going long, counter programming, doing too many shows, yes. With AEW, it's the pay-per-view length. With WWE, it's just doing too many shows. And also 3-hour SmackDowns, which sucks. Otherwise, you are right. Eric said, I'd say send Mariah May straight to the main roster. No, because they just called up Julia, Roxanne, Stephanie, and Jordan Grace. So she would get lost in the shuffle, I feel like. She is main roster ready, but I don't want her getting lost in the shuffle. The K word I'll say for you is kayfabe. Yes, round 1. Yeah, we'll go with that. That's what I meant. Pseudo said, is it just me or does AEW have different ring acoustics when wrestlers hit the ring or hit the mat? It just makes a different noise than WWE. I know it seems weird, but it was on my mind. You're probably right. They definitely WWE definitely has different rings than every other company. Round 1 also said TKO ruining both WWE and UFC. This sucks because I'm a huge fan of both promotional companies. I don't think they're ruining WWE. I want to make that clear, but I don't think they're doing them any favors with some of the decisions they made recently. But we got to see what happens long term. I do think it hurts morale with them when you release a guy like R-Truth, and people might start to leave. And then it's that cycle starting up again, all over again. It said, I'm guessing last Friday confirmed no Bianca heel turn anytime soon, which I'm disappointed. Yeah, I agree. But if they have a good plan for her when she comes back, maybe feuding with Naomi, that's cool. But yeah, they got to turn her heel at some point. Richie with all the member chat gifts in the chat. Thank you, Richie, showing the support there. Sign up to become a member, and you can get some of those emojis yourself. Grunt said, when the title defenses you have is on the level as Omega, Ricochet, Bayley, I think you can get away with defending it only once a month. True, but that was a month and a half ago. That was in late April. Did he defend it at all last month? If he did, I don't remember. He's defending it at Fyter Fest. That's cool. We'll see how that match is. Richie said, word on the street is Truth rejected a lowball offer from WWE. Not sure if that was mentioned. I did not mention that. I haven't seen that myself. If that came out while we were talking, then I missed it. But that would make sense. We mentioned that on Sunday. I said, there's a chance they may have lowballed him, and he said no. So it's not like they just up and released him. They may have felt he wasn't worth the money they were paying him. That could make sense. But I still would pay R-Truth maybe less money, maybe not as much money as he was getting paid, but I would still keep Truth around. Maybe meet somewhere in the middle. Good night, Pseudo. Thanks for joining us. He said, good night, y'all. So what are we going to call the new faction with Seth and both Brawns with Paul Heyman? I don't know. I heard the vision for the Seth one. I don't know if I love that, but it's not bad. They kind of referenced the Vision last week. I don't know if I love that name, but it's decent. I don't know. I'm not a great faction namer, so I'm not really sure. But they gotta have to come up with something now that the faction seems to be complete. Ahmed said, "Can you stream Worlds Collide on Saturday or no?" Are you talking me streaming during the show? The answer is no, because I'll be at Hollywood Studios. I'll be at Disney World on Saturday, this entire weekend actually. So I will not be streaming. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it actually at some point. I don't know when I'll watch it. I'll watch it definitely not live. WWE, you can stream it though. You can stream it with them. It's on their YouTube channel. So you can check out Worlds Collide on Saturday on YouTube, not to plug it, but if that's what you're asking, that's where you can watch it. And like Richie said, Braun Squared and Brawny and Seth. Those aren't bad names. Those are pretty decent names. All right, guys. Got to get going here. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this has been a blast. You saw Richie with the emojis there. You can get access and unlock access to those emojis by becoming a channel member. Shout out to our channel members. You see some of them in the chat with the badges next to their names and access to the emojis. That includes Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland here on YouTube, Richie, Red Planet Wrestling here on YouTube, and Average Grunt, at the Average Grunt on the Twitter machine. So sign up for a channel membership, $5 a month, gets you stuff like that, badges, emojis, early and ad-free access to certain videos, top billing on shows like this one, and WrestleRant Radio. which, by the way, I will be live for again on Thursday, ideally with Mr. Marceau, before I fly out for Disney World on Thursday night. So the upload schedule shouldn't really change. I should have all the videos pre-recorded, so I'm not recording while I'm gone this weekend, but all the videos should be up while I'm away. Keep an eye out for those. At the very least, just like this video, if you haven't already, the support means a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're live every single Tuesday answering your questions here on the channel. Send in a question by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And, if not on the wall itself, and the post that I usually put up on Monday nights. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. After we're done going live, of course, I'll include your question in next week's edition. I think that's about it. That's all the plugs. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Richie, Grunt, Round 1, Ahmed, really everyone, Pseudo, everyone from earlier, Eric, Alexis, a whole bunch of people, Wrestling Fan, Daniel, everyone that tuned in today. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I'll spend a little bit more time on the questions next week. A lot of great questions. I kind of rushed through them at the end there just so we can get them in. But I spent a lot of time in the chat, so it's all the more incentive to tune in live and chat with us and have a great time. Thank you, Ahmed, for saying W stream. Grunt, same thing. Appreciate you guys. Have fun, Graham. Ahmed said, thank you, Ahmed. I appreciate that. Have an awesome week, folks. Later, Richie. Thanks so much for tuning in, as always, and I'll see you soon for sure. But yeah, enjoy Money in the Bank this weekend. I will not be watching it live. I will not be doing a live stream for it during the show, after the show. Even if something big happens, most likely, I will be traveling. So I cannot be streaming, but you'll be getting content from me regardless. So subscribe and click that bell button to be notified every single time we're live and every single time we upload new content here on the channel. Until next time, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.